lot of people watch it. It's a pretty popular show.
What's it about? They
It's
have
about,
pictures of
like,
ladies?
Yeah, ladies and knights and kings and midgets and, dragons. And
Sounds like my honeymoon. I get the mood going.
The mood's going.
I have 4 covers and a big quilt. And then
Well, I'm getting hard.
I turn.
With your big Snoopy bed.
I don't have a Snoopy bed. I have
4 covers and a quilt.
And then I climb underneath the covers. I lay on top of the lady for 4 or 5 minutes. And she doesn't seem to enjoy it.
No, it sounds like an assault.
I've seen more sunsets than I'm going to see. Let's be honest.
Are you having a crisis about mortality and stuff?
Well,
because I've heard that you've been comfort eating. That's not good.
Yeah, I love Jesus Christ. He's my Lord and Savior.
That's bloody decent of him to have gone through all that for you.
It was.
You might want to eat a few less sandwiches during the golf as some kind of thank you.
Engaging in hate speech is wrong and terrible and should never be tolerated. But you have to admit, engaging in a hate stutter would be kind of cute.
Everything's harder than
Are you doing
heroin.
this to be a funny thing, or do you really have to kind of
I'm doing
feel
it. No,
like...
I feel that I have an oral fixation. You know about that.
On that season, there wasn't a black guy.
There was more than one season?
But there was more than one season.
And they said
I only lasted one season.
Oh, they said the problem's Gilbert.
Yeah, yes.
I love mirrors. You're probably not too fond of them.
Oh, it's so great. My favorite part from all that is when Mr. Brand goes, "It sounds like assault."
I know, it's so ironic. Ugh.
Oh, man. All right. Welcome, everyone, to a Readout. Joining me today on this Tuesday evening, we have Christian and John, as per usual. John, how you doing tonight?
Good. Glad to be here. A little late, little tardy. I was out at the range for like 6 hours today, but glad to be here.
Hey, getting stuff done. That's good. It's good. You drinking anything?
A Dr. Pepper cream soda, 0 sugar. It's very exciting.
How does the cream and the 0 sugar go together? Is it aspartame?
I think it tastes great. It tastes
Okay.
like I don't notice it. I mean, I'm sure there's something terrible in here. Yeah, it's aspartame. So, or aspartame. But yeah, I'm sure it's not good for you, but it tastes fine.
There you go. Christian, how are you, sir?
Doing well, man. Hanging in there.
Excellent. You got a beer or anything?
I'm currently steeping my tea bags, so I have some tea.
Nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you give up anything for Lent?
Social media and alcohol. As you take a drink of beer, that it
Beer
looks so
on
good.
YouTube. Yeah. Well, hey, this is social media. What are you doing here?
It's more so just like Instagram and Twitter. That's what I spend the majority of my time on. So.
No, that sounds like a great idea. I would encourage everyone to do the same, except I don't want to decrease our engagement here. So, all other forms of social media, everyone should take off for Lent. Well, fantastic. I am drinking a Yinling Black and Tan. It's quite good. I think it's a Christmas season beer, so I stocked up to make sure that I have plenty, at least to get me through March, because it is one of my preferred cheap beers.
I've heard Yingling talked up so much, man. I want to try
I like
one
Yingling
so
a lot.
bad.
So Yingling is great. It's one of the, if not the oldest, long-standing breweries in America. So it started by some German guy. Yingling, I don't know exactly. Doesn't sound very German. I don't know. Some immigrant started it in the I think early 1800s, if not before, and it's been around ever since. So cool brand, and the beer is pretty good in terms of cheap beers. Definitely better than gay Bud Light or whatever else you might be drinking. All right. Before we jump in, I did want to say, one of our commenters called this out, but the names were released for the service members who were killed, who have been killed so far, at least 4 of the names. So I want to read those off real quick just so people can pray for their souls. And so hopefully I don't butcher these. I don't have their grades or ranks associated with them, just the names, but I'll go ahead and read them. So Cody Cork, Noah Tachons, Nicole Amore, and Declan Cody. So go ahead and send up prayers for them. Definitely want to, yeah, there we go. Perfect. You got pictures as well. And prayers for their families as well. I'm sure that this is a hard time. All right.
And these are the first 4 out of 6 confirmed casualties so far. So there will be
Yep.
2 more names coming tomorrow.
Yep. Alrighty. Excellent. We have a full show tonight, and so we're going to have to keep things moving pretty quickly because we've got a lot to get to, and I don't want to miss anything that's important. Lots of stuff has happened since our last stream, obviously. It's a whole little thing going on in the Middle East. Before we do that, though, I do want to have just a brief theological topic I've been thinking about a little bit lately. I was on John's Focus Strip stream last night, and towards the end, for some reason, I don't recall why, we got into the topic of predestination and free will. And so I thought it'd be fun just to start with a couple thoughts on some of the tricky aspects of this issue, and we're not going to solve it tonight. And this is one of the biggest questions, one of the biggest conundrums and really paradoxes of Christianity, trying to reconcile the sovereignty of God with the free will of man. Certainly the apparent free will that we have, as well as the free will that seems to be biblically warranted in Scripture as well. But at the same time, the sovereignty of God. I mean, we believe in a God who is sovereign. And what does it mean to have a God that is truly sovereign if that doesn't involve some amount of, well, countering free will? It's like, how can God be sovereign and be surprised by the choices that we make? So this is one of the key issues. And the East and West have tended to have different perspectives on this. Although what's interesting is the Western Church, after Protestantism, there, even within Catholicism, there are branches that try to go away from the predestination side of things. The Thomistic school tends to follow a predestination perspective. Some of the other views do not. One of the big ones is Molinism, or using middle knowledge to basically try to get out of predestination. It doesn't really work. But then there are even some more free will prioritizing schools of thought within Catholicism. But then in Protestantism, you have the big divide being Arminianism and Calvinism. And the Arminians would be, well, you had first Arminius, who was initially a student of Calvin. I don't know if he was directly, but certainly a student of Calvin's teachings. And then later, Arminianism was really reborn with Wesley, one of the Wesley brothers, I think John Wesley, really bringing the modern flavor of Arminianism that we see today. Now, what I was not particularly familiar with was the Orthodox teaching on predestination and free will and kind of how they viewed it. So I did a little bit of research today, and it does seem to be very similar to really the modern Arminian perspective in a number of ways. There are some key differences, but in terms of what seems to be an acceptance of this concept of libertarian free will, or some version of free will that seems to be libertarian in nature. And so that's what I want to talk about today. Now, again, I don't know all the ins and outs of the Orthodox perspective, so I'm not in any way directing this at Orthodox people, but mainly anyone who espouses a more free will focused set of beliefs around trying to reconcile this tension. You're going to have some issues when you lean into that free will side in terms of how you define it. And so that's what I want to talk about. There's this concept called libertarian free will. And essentially, it is the view that another term for it is contra-causal choice. So when you make a decision, you are making it without respect to any causes. You're able to just simply freely choose it. For example, if you are at, an ice cream shop and you have to choose which flavor of ice cream you want, you can just simply make that choice without reference to any causes. You have free will to choose in that case. The problem with libertarian free will, as thus defined, which is a pretty fair definition, I think, it's a little extreme, but it's hard to wiggle out of, really. That does seem to be what libertarian free will means. The problem is, it doesn't really account for all of the causes that we do actually have to account for. In other words, if you're at the ice cream shop and you choose chocolate ice cream, why would you choose chocolate ice cream? Well, because you desire chocolate ice cream. And as soon as you start to admit desires into an analysis of a choice, then that's no longer a contra-causal choice, right? So another way to describe a contra-causal choice would be all things being equal, you can choose either A or B. But if you have a desire for chocolate ice cream, then all things aren't equal, right? If you chose strawberry, then that would indicate that you desired strawberry, or that you had some other desire that was greater than your desire for chocolate ice cream, like a desire to, demonstrate your free will or something. You have some desire which leads to the choice that you make. And it's really hard to see any choices that don't follow that pattern. There might be some, but as a precondition of those choices, they would by definition have to be arbitrary, right? Maybe you have no preference between strawberry or chocolate, so you just arbitrarily pick one or the other. Yes, that would be an example of free choice, but it would necessarily be arbitrary. And so when it comes to anything that actually is not an arbitrary choice, it's going to involve some kind of desire involved, which is going to violate the rules of or the definition of libertarian free choice or contra-causal choice. And so as soon as you have these prevenient desires, antecedent desires that come before the choice, then you actually are no longer talking about free will in the same sense. And so then you have to, so the question number one is libertarian free will does it actually ever exist? Are there really any cases where you have this kind of free will? Do we actually see this in nature? Even though it feels like, yes, we have free will, but what do we really mean by that? Do we mean anything other than we choose what we desire? In which case, now you're just pushing the ball, or you're moving backwards in terms of now you have to ask where those desires come from. And the Calvinist perspective, or even beyond Calvinism, but the really a longstanding orthodox in the little o sense of the word perspective, is that when we are in our fallen state, we desire evil. Not that we only desire evil. I mean, God's common grace exists, and so we God does allow us to desire other things, but ultimately we have evil desires. We are dead in our transgressions and sins until Christ brings us back to life and changes our desires. And so the way that this view reconciles free will and predestination is, or free will and God's sovereignty, is that we freely choose what we desire, but we require God to change our desires from evil to good in order for us to actually act in a good way. And so, yes, we are free, and yes, we do freely choose, but we freely choose contingent on our desires. And we are not free to change our desires, at least not wholly free. And really, ultimately, we do require God to change our desires if we're going to do anything good. And all good can be ultimately ascribed to God. There's a lot of complications that come in even with that perspective. But I'm just kind of throwing this out there, I guess, to muddy the waters for anyone who thinks that predestination doesn't make any sense, and that there's free will explains it all, because really free will has a lot of issues in and of itself. So that's all I had to say. John, Christian, any thoughts?
Well, I mean, without dragging this discussion on for too long, it seems to me like you're adjusting the parameters of free will, right? But you're not actually refuting it as a point. So, like, if you throw me into a jail cell, you've limited my options outside of my control, but I still have, like, certain parameters that I am in control of in there, right? So even if I don't have full control of my circumstances of birth, of course, because I don't really have much to do with that, I still have, within my set of parameters, free will. I still have options within that. Even if there is some, biological desires that are innate to me, or certain weaknesses, or certain strengths, or whatnot. Everybody has their own set of parameters that they didn't choose, but they still have free will within that. So no matter how restrictive you make the box, right, there's still free will within it.
I suppose, I guess it depends on, are the only things left inside that box those areas of arbitrary choice? Or would that include choices that also involve desire?
Well, I guess that's more complicated, because you can, by your free will, enact changes upon your desires, right? Because if I give in to my lusts and my addictions and my predilections, even if I have like some sort of disadvantageous, predetermined, effect on them, like I'm a very addictive personality, right? But the more I give into them, the more power I'm giving them over me.
Right.
So that I'm increasing my desires for those things, right? But if I lived in a monastery, if I chose to do that, then my desires for like, drugs and stuff like that wouldn't really matter all that much because
It does seem like you're just shifting the goalpost, though. I mean, I the point's well taken, but what would cause you to change your desires? I mean, wouldn't there need to be a prevenient desire even for that choice?
Well, right, but that if it's a choice at all, though, right? It would still be my own choice within my set of choices, right? Within my parameters that I have.
But based on a certain set of desires that are antecedent to the choice. It seems like it's all choices are going to fall into one of two categories. You choose based on your desires, or you choose arbitrarily. So the only kinds of choices that could purely fall into a contra-causal choice scenario would be the arbitrary ones. Anything that has desires prior to the choice, those desires are going to be part of the causes for the choice.
Right, but I maybe I'm not understanding why that would have any effect on the choices that I make, right? Because for instance, I could affect someone else's desires. Is that just moving the goalpost again because I'm affecting my will upon somebody else's desires and I'm modifying their parameters, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you are just moving the goalpost, right? Because that wouldn't affect. You're still going to get.
Well,
like
why would all of
cause.
my choices have to be based off of some desire that I don't have control over, right? Because I mean, what you're positing there would be some form of soft determinism, right? Because if we're not control of our base desires and we only have control over like the accidental things that come along that aren't important, I mean, you're essentially saying that we're just determined by our environments.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why you would call it soft determinism. I don't think that that's entirely wrong. I think in the end, this is the point I was trying to make last night. You are going to have to accept certain things that seem contradictory and hold them in tension.
Well, certain things are outside of
so-
our control. I agree with that. And certain people have different predilections, different issues or whatnot. But I think that within our set of circumstances that we're born into, we still have control. Right?
But those set of
Because
circumstances.
like where do the desires
but
initially
aren't your
come
desires
from?
part of those circumstances?
How so? When I'm 5 years old, do I understand my desires? When I'm younger than that, do I still have control
okay, let
over
me
my
ask you this.
actions? Or...
Give me an example of a choice that you've made that was not a result of your desires.
Oh, well, I mean, a near infinite amount of subconscious decisions that happen all the time. Like, I mean, when I yawn and I like stretch my right hand, there's no like desire.
But
like,
are those
conscious
even
desire.
examples of free choice? Right, you do them unconsciously, so you're not even choosing to do those. You just do those automatically. I mean, that would be an example of an action that
I guess
didn't
just
have a choice.
byproduct of
So it's got to be
existence, I guess,
conscious.
there.
Yeah. So I think we have to narrow it to conscious decisions, and then you've got to find one that you do that doesn't have any relation to your desires. And I'm just not convinced that such a category really exists. It's an interesting thought. And again, I'm not trying to deny free will. I do believe in free will. This is one of the great mysteries, and it is not something that is easy to solve. And you are correct that if you carried my train of thought that I've introduced here all the way down, you do end up with some kind of determinism, which we must reject. And so somewhere along the lines, you got to jump ship. But trying to figure out exactly where to jump ship is basically where all these theological debates come in, where we don't want to admit to some ultimate determinism, but we also don't want to deny the sovereignty of God, and we don't want to deny really the clear evidence, even just thinking through this philosophically, that we do base our decisions off of parameters that are largely outside of our control. And if they're outside of our control, then whose control are they in? And it would seem that, if we believe in a sovereign God, then they are in God's control. So you end up with in both cases, conclusions that seem in their extremes untenable, but somehow have to be harmonized. So I think we can leave it there. We're not going to solve it, but that's kind of the paradox I wanted to start the show with. So moving on, Christian, any final thoughts here before we move on?
I don't want to like drag us back into this, but it seems like you were saying essentially that like everyone's desires are essentially, well, I mean, everyone's individual desires are going to be different, but it seems like desires, I don't know, to me, they could fluctuate. I don't think a desire isn't going to be set in stone. I think there's causal change for individual desires, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So like today, I could have the desire to go to heaven. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but tomorrow, say I don't want anything more to do with religion or God or Christ anymore, then my desires have, objectively changed.
Right. Yeah, I think the question is, again, how much choice is involved with even those changes in desires. And to John's point, that we can train our desires, but even the desire to do that, right, that requires some action, that requires some choice. And where do those desires come from, if not from God, right? I mean, and this is the Orthodox perspective, is that ultimately any good desires are a gift from God, right? I think Orthodox, East, West, all true Christian denominations ultimately affirm this perspective that even the desire to follow God is a gift of God. It has to be. Okay. John, what's the first clip you've got queued up? Because I know we wanted to get into, I think the Just War clip is probably the best one to transition, because that's also a bit of Thomistic theology. So that's a natural transition, I think.
Oh, sorry. All right. I do have that one pulled up. Let me pull that up here.
So I'll introduce it. So we have a clip from Michael Mills' show, I think today, where he is just briefly, it's a 3-minute clip talking about the analyzing sort of the just war case for the war in Iran. And we'll see if you agree with his argument. Michael has been sort of, he said that if he was asked whether or not we should go to war with Iran, he would have advised the president not to, if he had been at the table. He wasn't. But that's sort of his going in position, but now he feels like the die is cast, and ultimately things have gone relatively well so far. So he's, he can understand arguments on both sides, but he's not, entirely convinced what is best. But at this point, really only time will tell whether or not we made the right call. That's more or less Michael's going in position.
Totally right. Okay, one last point before we get to Bill Clinton talking about sitting in the hot tub with girls and Jeffrey Epstein. There's this question that's come about. Is this a just war? Is the strike on Iran, the ongoing strikes on Iran, are they an example of a just war? And some people throw out the idea of international law. Some people throw out the idea of the jus gentium. Some people throw out the idea that there is any such thing as just
hurtful. That is so hurtful. High-paced targets. Why would you say that? That's awful.
Just in war, some people are hardcore pacifists or peaceniks
it's a good
or
one.
whatever.
It's a good insult.
Again, I refer you, if you are tempted to be a pacifist on the grounds of Christianity, I strongly urge you to read, at the very least, C.S. Lewis's excellent 20th century essay about why he is not a pacifist, why Christians should not be pacifists. But in any case, there's a long-standing tradition that going back to Cicero, going back to the pagans, but developed throughout the history of Christendom and maybe perfected by St. Thomas Aquinas, the common doctor and the angelic doctor, which says that some wars are justified, but they have to be justified on certain grounds. And so just looking at this action here, we'll pull out a handful of the principles that go along with just war, and we'll see if this qualifies. It has to be the last resort. Diplomatic negotiation has to be exhausted. Now, we've been negotiating with Iran for a very long time, and there are going to be people who tell you after 47 years of negotiations, and recently after 6 months of negotiations following a massive bombing on the nuclear program, very intensive negotiations, and after many, many years of top-level American to Iranian negotiations, there will be people who look you in the face and tell you, we were this close to a deal. If we only had a couple more weeks, we would have gotten a deal with the Iranians. I think most people, though, looking at the history of the last 47 years, and especially of the last 6 months, will tell you we, the United States, and especially Donald Trump, did everything that they could to negotiate, and diplomacy failed. The second qualification for a just war is it has to be waged by legitimate authority. I know some libs still don't want to acknowledge that Trump won the election in 2016 and 2024, maybe 2020, but at least 2024. But it's a legitimate authority. The U.S. government is a legitimate authority. President Trump is legitimately the president. Number three, it has to redress an injury. Iran has killed roughly 1,000 of our soldiers over the past 47 years over the course of the regime. This goes back to the 1980s, but you especially saw this. Actually, it goes back to the very founding of the Islamic regime in Iran, because the Islamic regime in Iran began by taking American hostages. But then you had the Beirut barracks bombings in the 80s. You had hundreds of U.S. soldiers killed by Iran in the global war on terror. And Iran was killing U.S. troops, 3 U.S. troops, just 2 years ago.
Okay, so
this is ongoing.
So I think we're coming to the end here. But so far, are we tracking? So last resort, how do you guys feel about that one? Or his assessment of that one?
I mean, it is kind of the same argumentation. People will say 2 weeks away from a nuclear warhead, 2 weeks away from a deal or something like that, right? They throw the same lines back and forth. So I get where he's coming from that. However, I feel like if there was ever a point in time where we had the strongest negotiations, it would have been certainly in the last 6 months or so, where we had just taken out their nuclear facilities. We had total dominance in the region. They weren't attacking us. I feel like this was the time to do something. On top of that, my complaint here is this certainly was not the last measure to exert will over them. Khomeini was 86 years old, a cancer haver. He was about to die, and he was hated by his own people. And instead of just allowing him to die and power to switch hands naturally, and maybe even to somebody who's much more amenable to American interests or Western interests, we martyred him. So that's complicated. And I actually talked to somebody from the region who essentially had the exact same take, which was one that I hadn't heard. So he's actually hates the Iranians, very anti this move, though. So it's
hates the current regime.
Iranian,
right,
the current regime also hates the move.
Okay.
The attacks. So, that's one perspective that I got to listen to. But,
I think that's a hard case to make, that this is a last resort. It is one of the weaker points of just war theory, where I wonder that it really needs to be a last resort, because that would seem to really to negate opportunistic attacks, which I'm generally in favor of. I think that if you are adversarial with an evil enemy, then you should, strike when the iron's hot. You should attack when you have a good opportunity. And if you're always waiting for it to be a last resort, then that would seem to preclude that type of opportunity. Christian, what do you think?
I'm still kind of generating some thoughts on it, so give me a minute. Yeah.
What was his second point?
So it has to address some sort of issue ongoing between the two nations, right? Which I did look up the numbers, and according to just random site that I pulled up, around 900 Americans have been killed since the 1980s. And that is not just Iran directly, though there were 241 killed in the 1983 Beirut bombings, but also people linked to Iran. So that would be like terror cells and things like that. So roughly 1,000 over the past 4 decades. Now, while that is technically true, right? I don't know if that's really all that fair, because we could say that about a dozen nations, probably. Maybe not a dozen, but at least 6 or 7 nations. So does that justify us bombing them at any given point in time, right? Can we just go and bomb Afghanistan again, or Iran again? Can we just, or any of these other nations that are in that area, can we just bomb them because, well, hey, listen, since the 1980s, you guys have killed a bunch of us, so we're just going to bomb you again. So I get that there is absolutely tensions there. My main issue with it is that there's no, as of yet, again, we're only 5 days in at this point, but there's no cost-benefit analysis here, right? Nothing was happening. Now we killed their leader, martyred him. 6 American soldiers are dead. As of now, actually, just an hour ago, the largest U.S. base in the Middle East got hit with another ballistic missile. That was the Al-Udeid. Numbers are coming out of that, so it could be potentially that number of dead could go up as of right now. And we haven't gained anything because essentially what we're doing now is waiting until we knock out enough of their stuff to where we can negotiate again, which we were already doing in the first place.
With some unidentified person of power.
Well, we don't even know who he is yet, right? The next 2 or 3 might already be dead. We can't tell. So we're after all of this, after spending, we lost $300 million planes for some reason. We've spent billions of dollars worth of munitions that are expensive and hard to replace. We've lost at least 6 soldiers as of right now. And we're back to negotiating with them in 2 weeks? Like, I don't...
Well, but if the point of this is to get us in a better negotiating spot, then...
Well, but why not just do what we did last time was perfect because it was literally just
we tried
3
negotiating
surgical
for
strikes.
a year and it wasn't seeming to work.
Well, yeah, and we did 3 surgical strikes on their nuclear facilities, and that was it. Like, no Americans dead. That just ended it. Full stop right there. So, I mean, I feel like there was some in-between option where, sure, why don't we just strike another strategic location again and be like, listen, dog, like, this is going to be it. And if we don't, yeah, you can say that's just another little bit of escalation and that just kicks the can down the road. Maybe that's possible. I'm not a geopolitical analyst or a military strategist. So, but I'm just saying, like, in a couple weeks' time, when all this settles down, we're going to have potentially 20 Americans dead, billions of dollars of munitions gone, and we're back to the negotiation table again. It's like, we're in a stronger position, I guess. But now they hate us even more, and we just martyred their former leader. So are we going to get the regime? Are we even going to get the regime change? Right.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it turns out in the end. I do think that if we had just continued to do surgical strikes, that it kind of strikes me as like the parent who's like, I'm going to count to 3, and then counts to 3, and is like, I'm going to count to 3 again. It feels like at some point you just got to come down with the hammer. You got to spank the kid.
But I'm also confused
that's how
because
I interpret what's going on.
If we're only in this because of the nuclear weapons, and we once again neutralized or set back the nuclear weapons,
we're not.
Yeah, but that's always the claim, right? And so we more or less took care of that.
Depends on who's making the claim, but yeah.
I mean, more or less we took care of that aspect last year. So again, the timing was pushed into it by Israel. They upped the timescale. Undoubtedly, Israel upped the timescale, if you want to believe the Secretary of State.
Yeah.
So whether we would have struck at some point in the future, that's, maybe, probably, but Israel undoubtedly upped the timescale. Now I'm curious. I have a counterpoint to this. I have a second option, okay? We can use all of the argumentation for the Iran war that we're currently in to do the exact same thing to Israel right now. Like, if we had struck Israel instead of Iran, you could justify it in the exact same manner.
Okay, make that case.
So, for instance, USS Liberty, where they killed like a bunch of our soldiers on a boat. So you can say, oh, well, dating back to the 1960s, they have had a history of funding terror cells, which is true as well. Funding terror cells in the Middle East that ended up killing American soldiers. So you can make the same claims as to the past issues that we've had with them. And because of their actions, their plans to attack Iran, right? We knew that they were going to retaliate and kill American soldiers, which is why we went in with them. But instead, hear me out here. If we had strategically struck all of Israel's ballistic missiles to where they could not attack Iran, Iran wouldn't have attacked the American soldiers, right?
Right.
So, I mean, like, you can say, like, we could have gotten almost the exact same thing if we just bombed Israel. We would have had the exact same number of Americans dead, right? Because Iran wouldn't have had a reason to attack us. They probably would have liked us, to be honest, right? And we would have not even been involved in this current war.
I think you're going to struggle to find the last resort part of that argument. And even the ongoing tensions part is a little bit more conjecture. But
I mean, Israel did objectively attack the USS Liberty and has objectively funded terror cells in the area, started ISIS and things like that have been responsible for American deaths. That's not really up for debate. You could debate the numbers, or the intent behind it, perhaps, right? But not the actual effect of it.
Those are just the ones we know of concretely as well. Not even the ones that might have happened as well.
To be fair, we funded a lot of terror cells as well over the years.
America funds everything, dude.
Exactly. I saw that meme where it's like you see the
I've
rockets going
taxed
back and
things
forth.
you wouldn't believe.
Right. The rockets coming into Israel and the Iron Dome rockets shooting them down, and it's like, we paid for this. Somehow we also paid for this. So we paid for both rockets.
Well, no, but if we had foreknowledge of a strike that Israel was going to make that was going to result in American deaths, and we said, hey, don't do that, they said no. Well, our last resort is to either attack Iran with you or to just stop you from attacking them in the first place. Right? So you could frame it like that as sort of our measure of last resort to protect American citizens, because you're going to engage in an action that is going to result in American deaths. I'm going to stop you from doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could make a case cherry picking a couple points from the just war theory. I think you would still struggle with the totality of the theory, which is how the just war theory works. It is a cumulative case, and very often you can't check all the boxes, but you can.
Well, and I don't think Iran perfectly checks all the boxes either.
I don't
really,
think they
'cause
do.
I don't think there's imminent threat. But in the Israel's case, we knew that they were going to attack Iran, which we knew was going to result in American deaths, right? We actually had perfect foreknowledge of the attack because they told us.
Right. All right. What? Let's see. His third point. Are we just on number 2 at this point?
Clearly, there's an injury to redress, to say nothing of the threat to the global order that the Iranian weapons program posed. A reasonable chance of success. Yeah, okay. This one, reasonable minds can differ on, because they might say, well, the situation in Iran is going to spin out of control and it's going to wind up worse than it was when we started. But I think looking at the United States military, the strongest military force ever in the history of the world, along with the amazing diplomatic breakthroughs of President Trump because of the Abraham Accords, because of his good relationships with the Gulf states, I think you'd have to say, at the very least, they have a reasonable chance of success. The goal is to reestablish peace. Obviously, that's the case. President Trump is a business guy, and he's a New Yorker business guy, and he knows that blood is bad for business. President Trump, I think, has demonstrated over both terms that he wants to reestablish peace. Proportionality, that the goods to be achieved have to be reasonable to the risks that you're taking. Again, reasonable minds can disagree on this. I think there's a good case that it is. And then finally, number 7, you have to discriminate between combatants and non-combatants, which the United States does. And ironically, which Iran does not do, because Iran had one foot in the international order.
That one I'm not quite. Like the reasonable chance of success, I'm willing to grant that, because I mean we do have, again, the most powerful. We have the best intel, the best missiles, all that sort of fun stuff, right? However, we kill a lot of bystanders in these attacks, and so does Israel. Like, we are sending missiles into Tehran, which has 3 million people in it or something like that. It's a rather large, densely populated city that is part rubble now. So I mean. Yeah.
The criteria is harder in the age of modern munitions, but it
100%.
is generally one of intent rather than are you intending to are you attacking civilian targets, or are they collateral damage in a military strike? That's
like
that's
the
basically
girls'
how
school.
that's applied. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
If that was an intentional strike, that would be unjustified in every perspective.
That was
on
our
this,
missile, just not fired by us.
Yeah.
What was his point 6? Was it the goods we get out of it or something? Or can you go back?
Let's see. Yeah, go back.
Bad for business. President Trump, I think, has demonstrated over both terms that he wants to reestablish peace. Proportionality, that the goods to be achieved have to be reasonable to the risks that you're taking.
Proportionality.
The goods to be achieved. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, if we're afraid that we're going to lose soldiers or other things, we can destroy their military to such a capacity, but we can't nuke the entire country, right? We can't just genocide them in just war theory. Right?
Now, it does seem
that's
like
not proportional.
Right. It is the way he phrased proportionality. I'm not sure. That actually seems more like a reasonable chance of success. I think he might be conflating the two, because what you just said, John, is more my understanding of proportionality. It's the proportionality of the response to what has been done to us, which is different from what he said. He said that what we get out of it is better than what we put into it, which is really more of a success criteria.
But what do we get out of this? Is my question.
again, the potential,
Removing-
I suppose, like if I take the best case scenario is regime change to a regime that is pro-West, or at least more pro-West, and a takedown of the terror networks.
Yeah.
That would be like best case scenario, right?
less funding of terrorism and a regime that is at least, they might not be
More
pro-West, but they
amicable
know
to
that
us.
they're going to be decapitated if they try to go against us, if they keep doing what Iran has been doing for the last 40 years. I think that's the best case scenario. Removing Iran as a state sponsor of terror from the world scene. Which would be nice.
I suppose I get that, but I just don't understand how that benefits the average American like you or me. Like I could see 100% how this benefits Israel and their greater plan to start taking over some more land. I mean, that's what Cicero's saying was a cui bono, who benefits from this, like in the large scale of things. It's not really the U.S.
I think
mean, we've already
you
had
could-
6 troops die out of this.
Yes. I think you could argue that it brings stability to the region, which is a huge geopolitical boon in terms of our energy reserves, right? And in the long term, like think long term, if we end up having to go into some sort of hot war with Russia or China, Iran not being a player in the Middle East and not threatening our oil fields is good. So we could say, okay, yes, we lost however many troops. I'm just making an argument. This isn't like totally what I believe. But you could say, like, if we get into a hot war with Russia, a sacrifice of a few troops here might actually be worth the saved blood in the future. Possible, right? Best case scenario.
All right. I think that was it, right? Those were all of his points?
Yeah. I didn't watch the full clip. There's like another minute in this Just War section of the show if you want to finish it out.
Yeah. Sure. We can finish it.
Again, reasonable minds can disagree on this. I think there's a good case that it is. And then finally, number 7, you have to discriminate between combatants and non-combatants, which the United States does.
Okay, yeah. Zany, you are being really fruity tonight. This isn't my channel, bro. Come on, what are you doing? Says wasting all your money for a doubt? Unbelievable. Just kidding.
Hey, we'll take it. It's a case. Just war theory is interesting in terms of how it's applied. It's one of those theories that I think generally can be twisted to fit whatever outcome you want. You can make a case using the theory. I mean, there are some cases that would strain it, but generally speaking, I think you can kind of shape your inputs to get the desired output. So I don't think that it's a particularly effective theory. I think that it's, if anything, it's helpful in articulating your rationality for why your justification for why you're going to war. I don't think that it really is going to make a convincing or strong, perfect syllogism for why this particular war is okay. Because you're always going to have disagreements on, the underlying facts, the inputs to the theory. But overall, John, are you convinced?
No. No, I mean, I know that 6 soldiers are dead as of right now because Israel pushed the timeline up. That's what I know. Is this going to actually truly benefit Americans in the long run? That is not knowable. If I had to guess, no, because it's usually a no. Somehow,
putting the blame on Israel for the 6 soldiers being dead is a little bit odd, right? Because that's sort of positing a counterfactual where Israel didn't push the timeline up. We do this attack on our own timeline, and no one dies.
well, then it is our action, then, right?
Well, I think even now it was our action. The way that it's been
so if we're
framed
trying to
is that we were going to do it anyway.
If we're trying to
It's just-
separate the blame, right? It's like, is it 50-50? Is it 100? What I'm saying is, like, well, maybe we were waiting because we wanted better intel on how to dismantle their infrastructure so that their counterattacks were less effective, right?
Right.
But again, I'm just conjecturing.
It's just a lot. It's just a lot of conjecture.
But I certainly can't let Israel off the hook for pushing up the timetable. Because even if there was a slim
you have to make a
chance-
case that that directly led to the casualties in any
because
meaningful way.
they died as a result of the attack. So I can't tell you that our future attacks would have been better or worse.
Right, that's my point.
But I can say that the ones that are currently dead, husbands, fathers, brothers, sisters, mothers, will not be going home because of Israel's actions.
I don't know. That's a pretty strained.
I mean, that seems objective to me. Now, again, I can't say that in the future it wouldn't have been better or worse if we had done it on our own terms, but then at least it would have been on our own terms, right? And then I could just hate my government for doing it, rather than like if Uganda pushed up our timetable, I'd be like, why are we listening to this tiny little country pushing up our timetable for our attack if we were going to attack at all, right? Because that's not even a guaranteed thing. There is a very slight potential, again, not likely, that some deal could have been made. Or Khomeini just dies on his own and gets replaced by somebody. We just let natural causes take the work because
Right. I mean, there are all kinds of potential hypotheticals that we don't really know. I guess.
I don't know how I separate the two. It's like Israel, according to, again, Secretary of State, we attacked with Israel because Israel was going to with or without us. If we did not attack with them, more American troops would have died because we would not have been as effective at taking out their countermeasures.
How is what you're saying materially different from a scenario where I leave a restaurant and I get mugged on the way home? Now, my friend had called me and said, "Hey, can you come home now?" And that's why I left at that time and not 30 minutes later. And had I left 30 minutes later, I wouldn't have gotten mugged. And so now I blame my friend for mugging me.
You can, yeah. You can put part of the impetus on your friend.
No moral theory would allow for your friend being to blame. Yes, it is true that he was part of the causal chain that led to you getting mugged, but your friend is not to blame for you getting mugged. The criminal is.
Right. Okay, so if you were the friend that made the call, though, surely you would feel bad. And also, to be fair, in this circumstance, Israel knows that there's a chance we're going to get mugged, and they're pushing up the timetable anyways.
Well, no one knew that we were going to lose a certain number of people. I mean, yes, it is war and people are going to die.
No. The reason we attacked with them is because we knew they were going to lose people. We tried to limit the number of losses.
But those aren't the people that got lost. Those aren't the people that, well, I guess to some degree. So was it a missile strike?
It was a missile strike, yes, correct.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
So again, if we did not go in with Israel, we would have potentially lost more people because we wouldn't have had time to take out their countermeasures, right? So that's why we had to go together, because they said, "Hey, we're going with or without you."
Just conjecture.
Well, yeah, but if I tell you, "Okay, listen, James, I'm going into that bar and I'm going to start a fight," you coming in now or 30 minutes after when it's going to get real bad in there? You're like, "John, you don't have to go into the bar in the first place," and I'm like, "No, I do." So, you could just not, I guess. You could stop me. You could be a good friend and stop me from going in there and making that fight, okay?
What if that friend has consistently called you a half an hour early and told you to leave a half hour early? Because Israel has consistently jumped the gun with their attacks as well. Just saying.
Well, didn't the last
I'm just trying to
happen...
disconnect the causal chain from the blame. I think that we're conflating the two.
Like, dude, if I was like, "Oh, I want my wife to come home now," because I just feel like I want dinner a half hour early or something like that. Something very minimal. And then something bad happens to her because I pushed up the timetable. While I might not,
assuming there was no actual issue with pushing up the timetable, you don't actually bear any blame, right? You might feel a little guilty, but that's just sort of an irrational.
That's not even irrational. Like, you did that. I would just take accountability for it. Like, I did that.
But you are not morally culpable for that. If you felt morally culpable,
unless I knew that I am increasing the chance, unless I knew that I'm increasing the chances of my wife getting into some sort of untoward situation, and I just don't care.
Right, but that's a case that you have yet to make. Going back to the non-analogous case of the Israel case, where we don't know that attacking later would have been resulted in less casualties.
They were going to endanger U.S. troops whether we went in or not. That's the thing. They were indifferent to how many American troops died in that. They're saying, "Listen, I don't care if you go in with us or without us. I'm going in. And I know they're going to counterattack and hit your bases. We're doing it anyways."
Right. Had we gotten hit as a result of them going in, then that would have been, then yes,
but they didn't give us any other option. Right? I mean, if there's, it is their actions. I don't know how it is not their actions in this case where they are indifferent Like, I don't care if you go in with or without us. You can try and minimize your casualties and going with us, or like whatever happens, happens, bro.
Right. I mean, I do think that the moral culpability has to be laid at the hands of the terrorists shooting the rockets. Ultimately, you could put some blame perhaps on Israel if you felt like they were making the wrong decision to.
But I would put the blame on
attack
everybody, everybody in this situation, and even in some case us for funding and voting for these people too, right? Because I would put on everybody in the link. I don't know why we would let anybody off the hook.
Sure. Okay, everyone's to blame. Everyone's bad. There we go.
Well, we all have some share in it, right? I mean, we all participate in the system that allows this to happen, for sure.
Generally speaking, I think that that's a correct approach. I do think that you have to weight them properly, but yeah. Okay, we should get to these super chats. They're piling up.
They love the fight. We just have to argue every stream.
I know, we get people pay.
Ronnie for $50. Thank you very much. I don't have any funny clips queued up on the I
can do it.
Redoubt side of it. There you go.
It was almost like the same thing. Yeah.
Almost
yeah,
same thing.
It felt the same. He says Titus 3:5, which is he saved us not because of righteous things we had done, but because of his mercy. He saved us through the washing of rebirth and renewal by the Holy Spirit. Titus 3:5. Thank you very much, Ronnie. Hope you're having a great night out there, sir. Mitchell Black comes in for 2, and he says, Shalom. Shalom. Mitchell Black, peace be upon you, inshallah. Or whatever they say in the Middle East right now. Zaniko for 2 says, can we talk about zero distance and height over bore?
Wrong stream.
You have to, you have to, objectively, the best battle zero is 41.5 meters, not yards, meters. And you need a 2.73 inch height over bore regardless of platform. Okay? I will not elaborate. Thank you, Zaniko. Mitchell Black for 5 says, John's anger flashed for a second when questioned by James. He's calm now, but I'm scared he might lash out again, guys. I don't know what that's in reference to. I haven't gotten angry. I have fun in contentious debates. Thank you, Mitchell Black. Mitchell for 5 again says, James has the desire to project masculinity by smoking fat cigars and telling everyone what alcoholic beverage he is consuming every stream. What is an oral fixation? Is that what?
Yeah, an oral fixation. That's
what
right.
Norm said.
Yeah, you know about that, don't you?
Yeah, that's why Norm smoked cigarettes and not cigars, because he felt like if he was gonna put his mouth on a phallic-like symbol, he wanted to be a little white one, not a big fat black one. All right.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for making that way worse.
I do prefer skinny cigars. Fat ones are very frustrating to smoke usually. And also, I totally recognize that this is a prop. It's a prop that I very much enjoy, but it is definitely a prop. It's not lost on me.
Amrite Boy for 5 says current Iran issue can be traced back to intervention in World War II to keep a clear path to get oil to their Soviets. Yeah, I'm not as historical expert in the region, but if we look back in the history books to 10,000 BC, they're still fighting in the Middle East. So, yeah. Thank you, Amrite Boy. Mitchell Black for 2 says a missile just flew over my house. One of the Tel Aviv guys. Thanks, Mitchell. Hope you're having a good time out there. I hope you're having a good time in the do you guys see the parties, the dance parties and the bomb shelters where they have a rave going on down there?
No, I think I heard the music in the background of one of the clips I saw. So
yeah, there's a rave and a disco ball and the RGB lights going everywhere in the background. It's like, all right,
it's like the modern scene of the Apocalypse Now bunker scene where they're getting stoned.
Did you see though? There was an Asian guy who's like a contractor. He's doing work in Tel Aviv, and they kicked him out of the bomb shelter because he was Asian, and he's just wandering around on empty streets like they wouldn't let me into the bomb shelter. Because I'm obviously not Jewish. I'm just here on a work visa doing a thing for a contracting gig, and I'm wandering around empty Tel Aviv. Okay. Wow. Thanks, Zany. Zany says, John, sip on that soda. I'm close. All right. Hopefully not too close. Cody Fisher for 5 says, hello, little hat James.
It just blends into the
He's gotta hide it.
Yeah.
It's a perfect... Actually, the whole thing is a yarmulke, but he has hair on top of it. It's like a wig. Thank you, Cody Fisher. Mitchell for 5 says you better sign your kid's age waiver for the military when they're old enough and make sure it's frontline infantry. Yeah, well, that's the thing. The 4 that were reported today were reservists, and they were inside of a trailer that got hit by a missile or drone, and just gone instantaneously. If that's any consolation to the families, but yeah. Thank you, Mitchell Black. Amorite Boy for 5 says they started the war and consistently blackmailed us into supporting them by threatening to use nukes and actually being willing to use them. I don't know if you're referencing the Samson option or if they've threatened to nuke Iran before. I don't know if they've specifically threatened to do that. And I know the blackmail angle is always conjecture, right? I mean, it's, you could say logical, but
I feel like I've heard stories about them threatening to use nukes, basically threatening the U.S., saying that if you're not willing to help us, then nuclear is going to be our only, our last resort. And the world is going to be a less safe place if we have to resort to tactical nukes. Therefore, help us and give us lots of money.
Thank you, Amorite Boy.
I'm
Cody
sure they
Fisher
made a similar case.
For 5 says, all for the Greater Eye Project. You either saw through it or you don't, and you lie to yourself. There's only good and evil. Well, I mean, undeniably, they do want Greater Israel. That is a project. That's like their next 50, 100-year plan for sure. Thank you, Cody Fisher. And I mean, they've done a good job of toppling every single regime in the area around them. I think Iran was basically the last one to go. Zanico for 2 says 1 Samuel. Pull this up real fast. 1 Samuel 18:25 through 27 for Jake. Saul replied, say to David, the king wants no other price for the bride than 100 Philistine foreskins to take revenge on his enemies. Saul's plan was to have David fall by the hands of the Philistines. When the attendants told David these things, he was pleased to become the king's son-in-law. That's a warrior spirit right there. It's like, all right, let's go get him.
Great story. Yep, he went out and he got them. He got all 100 of them. Isn't there there's like a mound that he like puts them all in a mound or something, and it's called like the Hill of Foreskins or something.
It's not entirely sure how he presented them to Saul. So he could have put them in like one of those chain links, but out of foreskins. He could have presented it as a lei. We're not entirely sure.
Woven a sweater out of them.
A scarf of Philistine foreskins. So before the allotted time elapsed, David took his men with him and went out and killed 200 Philistines and brought back their foreskins. They counted out the full number to the king so that David might become the king's son-in-law. Then Saul gave him his daughter, Michal, in marriage.
You could probably make a couple new Jewish babies with that many foreskins.
Unsucked foreskins? That's the thing. That's the bris. They do that. They cut the foreskin and they suck the blood out of the penis, and the mule sucks the blood, and they don't ask how in some New York Hasidic communities how babies were getting herpes and stuff like that. Don't ask how it happened.
The combination of words in that sentence just they lose my composure.
Gross.
Yeah. Jack of Nothingness for 5 says radical Christians go out to feed the hungry and heal the sick. Seems like radical Islam seems to do the opposite.
That's certainly what I feel.
It's very different than how they pretend to be online, right? So if you listen to Islamic apologists, they'll make a lot of claims that just never seem to actually come true in Islamic countries. Ever. So thank you, Jack of Nothingness. Appreciate that. Sheep Herder for 2. Is that the John Tripp focus of Redacted fame? True. I don't know about fame, but I am here. Thank you, Sheep Herder. Appreciate it. All right, finally. That's all.
All right. Excellent. Yeah, so what's next? I think we've got this should be a short one, but a little bit of rage bait for you. The sex offender who is running for town council. That's that's a move.
Wait, where did there it is. Okay, here we go. Yes.
Where's this, in DC or something?
No, they say it in the clip.
Close. Fresno. Now, I watched this not once, but twice before the stream because I was like, there's no way that all of these characters are real. So, Christian, they're going to show you in this video, if you haven't seen it,
I have not.
Three of the best candidates for what is it, city council. You're not going to believe it, okay? Your options are going to be amazing between the three options for city council here. We have I'll just play the video.
A registered sex offender has launched a Fresno City Council campaign to represent District 7, which includes Old Fig Garden, East Central Fresno, and parts of Southeast Fresno. He would join a crowded field vying for the seat when Councilman Nelson Esparza's term runs out. The controversial political hopeful spoke with Action News reporter Brisa Colon in his first television interview about the criminal past he's not hiding.
Well, I believe Fresno deserves leaders that are honest from the very beginning, not the end. So going in.
Hey, listen.
Okay.
Listen, I'd rather you say you're a pedo up front than after, Bill Clinton. Yeah, I'm a pedo 40 years after, right? All right, thanks.
Is this guy? Is this a man? Is this a woman? He looks.
Yeah.
He looks somewhat androgynous.
Yeah, good thing there wasn't a light breeze during that interview.
He looks like AIDS personified.
An interview about the criminal past he's not hiding.
Well, I believe Fresno deserves leaders that are honest from the very beginning, not the end. So going into this, I am putting my life out there.
Up front about his status as a registered sex offender, Rene Campos is not running from his past as he runs for office.
I've been given the chance to rehabilitate through the courts and back into the system.
Charged with being in possession of child sex abuse material back in 2018.
One would argue too soon, perhaps.
We're not talking about, he peed in public and he's a sex offender because, of some sort of indecent exposure or something like that. No, we're talking about child sexual abuse material, CSAM, right? In 2018, right? So,
pretty recent.
Actually, I don't want this guy rehabilitated and running for city council, which is going to have some power over, schools, kids, people's lives. But listen, there are some other candidates. Okay, you have a wide spectrum, you could say, of candidates to choose from.
The Fresno native says he pled no contest to a misdemeanor charge. Now launching his campaign
a liberal judge
to
gave him
represent District
a
7
misdemeanor
on the
instead.
Fresno City Council. He says his focus is on safety.
So I say, let's choose somebody outside the box.
That's ironic.
Somebody who knows the system from inside out.
He knows the system from inside.
I've experienced the laws that we are trying to reform right now.
No. Listen to that, though. I've experienced the laws that we're trying to reform. Yep. Why are we reforming CSAM laws?
Yeah.
Also, why did a liberal judge give you talk it down to a misdemeanor? Possession of CSAM? You tripped, fell, and put CSAM on your phone? I don't buy it.
Because I've experienced the laws that we are trying to reform right now.
Fresno County Clerk and Registrar of Voters James Coos says state law does not prevent a registered sex offender from running for office.
Once you leave prison, you're on probation, you actually are allowed in California to reapply and become a registered voter again, which would then make you eligible to be able to run as long as you are living in the proper jurisdiction.
Campos looks to enter a growing field of people vying for the seat.
What a twig.
Another candidate says he shouldn't join the race.
I think it should be a disqualifier to serve in public office. If I'm the next council member in District 7 and I can't show up at a school site, how can I best represent the people in the neighborhoods I want to serve?
I don't know. Does this guy strike you as the type of guy that represents maybe he does in California. Maybe he does represent the neighborhoods that he wants to serve. But I'm just like, your political options here are slim.
If you had to pick between those two, who do you go with?
Well, the pedo has to die, so it's got to be somebody else. It's like
Is
we're not even
Sikh?
done yet.
What is this guy?
It's Sikh,
Must be
yes.
Sikh. Yeah,
He's Sikh, yes.
I mean, it's kind of badass. He's got a dagger in his turban there.
Yeah. It's not called. It's called something else. I forget what it's called.
Site. How can I best represent the people in the neighborhoods I want to serve?
Each candidate brings a different background and focus to the race. AJ Rossomny says homelessness is his priority.
I never thought I'm going to be in politics. However, I'm a business owner, I'm a community advocate, and I'm a problem solver.
Nav Gurm, endorsed by Mayor Jerry Dyer
Nav
and the Firefighters
Gurm.
Union, says he represents the next generation of leadership.
There's a lot of basic amenities our neighborhoods deserve and quite frankly need, and that's why I'm running.
Ariana Martinez-Lott, a mother, is calling for more investment in neighborhoods.
I don't have political aspirations. I am running to continue the work that we have been doing here locally as residents in our city.
Campos has not yet filed for the office. He and the other candidates have until the 6th to submit their paperwork. The primary election is the first Tuesday in June. Brisa Colon, ABC 30, Action News.
California, the state that decriminalized knowingly transferring AIDS to somebody. You can infect somebody in the state of California and it is no longer a crime. You can knowingly do that to somebody who does not know that you have AIDS, right? You think that should be attempted murder.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But no, we have literal pedo. So I saw some people in the chat saying that this is a trans man because there's no Adam's apple, so this is a woman on TRT. I don't know if I buy that. Maybe he's just really low T.
It's certain. I could be easily persuaded, but I don't know.
The fact that we're not gonna question it.
We're not entirely sure, but it's just this picture right here sums up American politics. You have literal pedo, Sikh man, Hindu, Indian, or abuela. It's like, who do you want? Who do you want leading you right now? They couldn't find one normal person. I mean, it is Fresno, so I don't know. I don't know. We want to vote for Nav Gur? Was it Navdur? Navgurm? One of them? Yeah. Don't say that 10 times fast.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah,
it sounds like a slur.
It's too close. It's too close. Oh, geez.
All right, we got to move on. We have so much to get to. So with that little bit of rage bait out of the way, we have to move on to.
You said there wasn't going to be any rage bait, John. Now I'm mad.
Why are you mad? That was funny. That was funny, right? It's Fresno. It's not us. It's California's getting what they deserve, right?
Well, I
You
guess
voted
I
for this.
have a stake in it because I have family there, but whatever.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry about that.
Rip to them,
Yeah.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah. That's rough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got Shia LaBeouf beating up
LaBeouf.
gay people at Mardi Gras, so that's cool.
Hell
you
yeah.
know?
There's so much in this interview. We can't cover it all, but we just got to jump around because there are so many good clips. You really should go watch the whole thing. It is wild.
All right, let me pull up the full interview here. So this is on Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan. I'm going to go ahead and paste the link
What is
into the
that?
chat.
What is that portrait in the background, dude?
Yeah, it's
Almost like the
Modern
first thing
art-
that comes to mind is 9/11 when I look at that picture.
well, I was just thinking hell, but yeah,
Yeah.
Weird.
it is.
I don't
It
know.
is
I
odd.
don't-
Odd
The
references
guy's,
all
the
around.
guy's face is super messed up. Like, it looks like he just got doing meth right before the interview started.
And New
Just
Balances
had to
with
do
a
it.
suit. Quite the combo.
But I do want to talk about maybe a little bit of the framing here. So Shia LaBeouf was out. He is a new convert to Catholicism about 2 years ago when he was doing Mel Gibson's movie Padre
Pio.
Pio,
which I haven't seen yet. Have you? Either of you seen?
It's really bad. It's really bad.
Oh,
That's too bad.
I got through about half of it and it was really bad. So it's
That's
not worth
right.
your
Okay.
time.
Well, I did not see it either. But through the movie and through his interactions with Mel Gibson, he became a Catholic. So he's at Mardi Gras, he's out partying and drinking. A couple gay dudes make him really uncomfortable, and he starts a bar fight, basically. So that's the long and short of it. He gets out, gets arrested again. I think he's got some charges, and he's going to talk about it in this interview. But we're going to start. First time stamp I have is 622. But there are a lot of good sound bites and clips that come out of this. An insane amount.
What about this particular infringement on your privacy? I'm a Catholic, bro. You know what I mean? I don't fuck with the... be careful. Count me now. I'm a Catholic.
He was trying to say gays there. He was trying to say gays there. Also, a little bit of things that you might not know. Shia LaBeouf, famous actor, obviously, got abused in Hollywood by gay men as a child.
Seems relevant. Yeah.
Not a big
So,
shocker.
not comfortable around gay people. totally makes sense. I saw a lot of people clowning on Shia for being some sort of bigot based, but not having any like these are like empathetic lefties, right? Not having any empathy whatsoever. Like if a woman gets raped by a man and she's uncomfortable around strangers, strange men that she doesn't know, like that's pretty obvious, right? Duh. A child gets raped by a gay dude and now he doesn't like to hang around gay dudes as an adult. That completely follows. Duh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously. Why are we pretending that that's weird or not even like mildly like intuitive?
Especially one who's as ripe for abuse as Shia is, even to this day, right? I mean, you know, he's clearly been he's got plenty of issues with substance abuse, and you know, this is a man who can be taken advantage of, and probably has been many times since then.
Well, you are supposed to greet the brethren. Sorry, with a holy kiss.
We will play that clip as well. Yeah.
What does that have to do with like you?
Oops, sorry. Let me
feel like. How does that connect to the?
I don't know. The whole story's not out yet. I don't know what was going on in my head, but it don't matter. I mean, the truth is, I said words not okay to say. I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. That's what I mean by being. I'm a Catholic. Is I'm not supposed to be out here. You know, I'm wrong for what I did. Is what I'm saying.
How was the experience of going to jail and everything like that?
Oh, cute, like fun, like whatever, like stupid, like Mardi Gras.
What was it like at OPP?
What is he still on right now?
Right.
Like, is he hungover?
Maybe
is
it's
he
just
on
withdrawal? I
something?
don't know.
Or he's just, maybe he's this out of it, because he did have several very public mental breakdowns, right? Where he shows up to the red carpet wearing a paper bag saying, "I'm not famous anymore." Yeah. Abuse victims later on in life, add substance abuse on top of it. Not going very well.
What's OPP?
Orleans Parish Prison.
Oh
man.
shit! You got all the fucking slick ass names. I don't know, bro. I went in there. I was like, hey, let me get a coffee. They're like, shut the fuck up. You know, we don't give you coffees out here. So, but they were all nice to me, bro. I got cold. They gave me a blanket. Nobody was really talking. It was crowded. It was Fat Tuesday, so it was super crowded. And then it got more crowded and more crowded and more crowded. But that was fun. And then
Fat Tuesday before Ash Wednesday,
cute.
right? That's
Yeah.
When
you get it
well,
all
hey,
out.
going into prison, that's a good way to really force
Start your
yourself
Lent.
to give up some things. It's like, wow.
Cold turkey, baby.
Yeah.
Take notes. Yep.
I gotta be honest, though. I think he would be hilarious to share a jail cell with.
Yeah.
Absolutely hilarious. Like if I the wide spectrum of people you're gonna meet in a jail cell, I'd rather have coked up Shia. You know, he's just gonna be sitting over there rambling, talking. You know, real relaxed, laid back.
As long as you're not gay to
As
him,
long
you're
as you're
probably
not
fine.
gay, you know, you're gonna be fine. You're not gonna have any problems here, dude.
There was one dude who popped off bad, but nothing really.
How many people were in the drunk tank on Fat Tuesday?
On Fat Tuesday, it was probably where I was. There's probably 50 of us.
I'm sure everybody recognized you though, right?
Yeah, but everybody's good, bro. Everybody's easy. You know what I mean? They know what it is, really. They know already.
Yeah.
My baggage kind of lands before I get there, kind of thing. Usually, everywhere.
You told me you shared a blanket in there though.
Yeah, we did. We shared a blanket, because there's 50 of us, so there's only so many blankets. But yeah, me and this one, we shared a blanket. He was, we talked. He was a good guy. Actually, he was. So usually when you get processed, you become friends with whoever you're getting processed with.
He's just relating this as like, this is just what happens, right?
It's cute.
You're in Mardi Gras. It happens. You do the, here's how it works. Okay. You know, it happens every year, dog. It's fine.
Just the innate reality of meeting somebody before you meet everybody else.
Yeah.
And so the guy I got processed with became sort of a quick buddy. We didn't even talk. I don't know much about him, but just like one fisherman could see another fisherman from afar kind of thing. And we had that kind of connection. And then, black kid. Shared blanket, and we also shared meals. Like we got it quite intimate, actually. Fuck was his name? I don't remember.
It's hilarious coming from in the context of
I don't know what
homophobic assault.
William?
That's why he's there.
William, if you're out there, go ahead.
What was the charge they ended up hitting you with?
The charge, I got 2 misdemeanor battery charges, but they might up it to something, whatever. I know they got a DA, very liberal DA. Who knows what goes on, but I know they're.
Oh, no.
To something, whatever. I know they got a DA, very.
Listen, my man. All right. If I check this judge's history and he's given like probation to career criminals and something, okay? But you're gonna be upset at a bar fight between, you know, adults having too much to drink. Like, come on.
But it's a white guy.
I know.
Different rules.
So I'm saying if I see somebody with 30 arrests on his rap sheet getting probation for something, walking around free while Shy is getting a felony charge for something, all right, dog, we're gonna have some problems here. Leave my homeboy alone. He's a little gay, okay? Or deeply closeted, I should
Deeply
say.
closeted, yeah.
Who knows what goes on, you know, but I know there's a guy out there who thinks it's hate charges, you know. I'll live with whatever
What was that?
goes on, you know, but I know there's a guy out there who thinks it's...
I'd be afraid of that guy too.
Your Honor, can't be a hate crime. I loved doing it.
Oh, was that the gay guy beat up, or who even is that?
Or somebody who is gay and is saying, no, this should be a hate crime. You can't
Just
use
their
that
spokesman.
language against us. Spokesman. The spokesman for the gay.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'll live with whatever goes on. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
God bless them all, you know.
Have they told you like what the penalty might be for something like that?
There's like a battery charge. I think you go do 6 months, and hate charge would be more than that. I don't know. Whatever.
Sorry, the graphics go by in like. So felony is 1 to 20 years in prison. Gross misdemeanors 1 to 20 misdemeanors. Come on.
I don't know what it is. I got to do whatever it is. I'll do whatever it is. It was no good, bro. My behavior's dirty, ugly, disgusting, so I got to eat it, you know?
I know that whenever we first started talking, it was kind of on like the program tip in the AA recovery world.
Yeah, that's when we met.
How long were you sober for?
I had 9 months, I think. I had done kava. You know what kava is?
Yeah, like the Polynesian version of beer, but it's not alcoholic.
Yeah, it's kava. It's like some root drink, some kava. So some kava shop opened up in Pasadena. I started drinking kava like probably 9 months ago. So my sobriety ended there, 9 months. So I had 9 months, but that was 9 months ago. So I've been off for 9 months, like out of it, searching in and out, putting it down, picking it up, reading books.
Sounds like he's been on a 9-month bender, and this is the culmination of that.
We got to jump around here, John. Can you pull the clip that was the last one I sent in the Discord, where it's him talking about how he's afraid of gay people?
Yeah, I think that's this one right here.
Give me one second.
Let's do that one.
But I'll be honest with you, big gay people are scary to me.
What do you mean?
When I'm like standing by myself and 3 gay dudes are next to me touching my leg, I get scared.
Mm-hmm.
So also, why is that okay? Because if there were obviously if it was a woman, it would be considered assault. I just can't go up and grab the girl at the bar. Just don't do that. That's assault. You're getting kicked out. If a gay dude does it though, and I call him a certain slur, that's a hate crime charge? No. The guy's like, he's touching on me. Get him out of here. What the heck is happening? And again, keep in context that the Shia LaBeouf may have bad experiences with gay men as a child. That's in the back of his mind that he's never quite able to escape. Right?
I'm sorry. If that's homophobic, then I'm that.
Yeah.
That happened a lot. No, it just happened one time.
Recently.
Well, that's why I got arrested.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you were sort of being groped and surrounded.
I'm not going to say that because my lawyer said, "Oh, dude,
it's okay. We can back up."
I am wrong for touching anyone ever, and that's the end of my statement on this whole shit.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Moving back to what kind of things would set off that Napoleon complex?
Just so tortured.
My masculinity being challenged, somebody touching my girl, or touch my kid, or I'm good with gay. Be gay over there though. Don't be gay in my lap.
So you feel like when
Great clip. I'm talking about you being gay. Be gay over there. Just don't be gay in my lap. Which is that's a line from The Office from 2008. The guy's like, I don't care if you're gay, just don't be gay with me.
Yeah. Things that you feel that you possess in a way are challenged, like your girl, your kid, if someone gets in the way of what they want to do.
Yeah, if somebody, there's personal space type stuff, which gets weird it's Mardi Gras. That's why, bro, I was drunk and it's Mardi Gras. So everything I'm saying is nonsense. It's Mardi Gras,
But it sounds like this complex is maybe something that you noticed for a long time.
I mean, maybe, bro. I mean, my dad,
This
my dad was
complex?
this complex as in like being anti-gay or not wanting gay people to touch you. Which, listen, I also have this complex of not wanting gay men to touch me.
Yeah.
Right? It's just one of
Call
those
it a
things. It's
complex.
very natural. Yeah, it's called my normal complex, my human complex. Disgust is not complex.
His cousin, so he was in my ear all the time. I don't know, maybe I am. Who the knows, bro? I'm open to whatever somebody wants to say. It didn't feel like that when it happened. Look, and this is the worst thing to say, and I'm not gonna say it. I've never had no problem with gay people, never. I remember paying for people's like transition surgery when I was around the internet heavy. I've never.
That's what a weird little segue there. You were paying for people's transition surgeries when you were on the internet heavy?
Yeah, I have no idea what that means.
Like, what? Just somebody in your friend group is like, yo, Shia, I need $15K for top surgery. You gonna help a brother out? I mean, sister out? That's all right. That's
been adversarial towards it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't seem like a homophobic guy.
No, but
Maybe a
I don't
little.
know, I'm open to whatever. If somebody's got more information on the subject, then let me know. I know I'm deep off into the Bible. I know what the Bible says
about
homosexuality.
What does it say?
Nah,
that's what it says.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Nah.
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 Leviticus
Nah.
9:12. Nah.
It's like a surfer dude talking about Leviticus. And God said, nah,
It's
dude.
so good.
Like, let's be stoned or something.
On the subject, then let me know. I know I'm deep off into the Bible. I know what the Bible says
about
homosexuality.
What does it say?
Nah.
That's what it says.
Yeah.
But wasn't that written a really long time ago?
Bro, you can do whatever you want with the text. It's not my business. You know what I mean? I'm a traditional Catholic. That's okay.
And what's the difference between a traditional Catholic and, let's say, a more progressive Christian?
I really f with the Bible.
Yeah. He's good. He
Good
might
answer.
be off a little, but he's got the spirit, right?
Yeah.
He's out of line, but he's got the spirit. I do have that clip handy, the Norm clip. if
Oh
you
yeah,
want me to play that now.
it's so apt.
Consider.
All right, let's see.
I should
Little
have
Norm
considered
cleanser.
that before choosing some of these jokes.
Gay people are just like me and you.
I know.
How many times do I have to tell you that?
Well, you tell me that all day. How I'm just like all the gay people.
Gay people are the same as everybody.
No, you mean you always tell me specifically how I think you're just calling me gay. It's one of the.
It's not an insult. He thinks it's an insult.
No, I didn't mean it.
Why would being gay be an insult?
Yeah. I love gay people.
Yeah, I know.
I think that's the end of the show. I should.
Tom Green
Yeah,
space
I
the whole
know.
time. It's so funny. Oh man.
I do like how
one of my
that guy
favorite
is
clips.
the butt of everybody's joke in that.
Yeah.
There
So
are a
good.
couple other timestamps from that interview. You want me to pull those up?
Yeah. Go ahead and could you ever find the Luther one? I didn't.
It's pretty easy. I'll show you how to do it in case you ever need for reference. So just go here, transcript, Control F, and then literally I'm just gonna type in Luther, and
Gotcha.
it pops up right there. So yeah,
nice.
Let's jump to that.
So, yeah, it's pretty easy.
That's
Can I
that
go
one
to it?
next. Yeah.
Well, usually it just brings me. Oh, it did. Okay, it's just waiting. I don't know why it's being odd.
Who's down there? Martin Luther.
Oh wait, here we go. Sorry, back it up a bit.
What the Bible says
about
homosexuality.
Oh, it's right after that clip too.
Nah.
That's what it says.
Yeah.
But wasn't that written a really long time ago?
Bro, you can do whatever you want with the text. It's not my business. You know what I mean? I'm a traditional Catholic. That's okay.
And what's the difference between a traditional Catholic and, let's say, a more progressive Christian?
I really fuck with the Bible.
You believe in hell and stuff?
Yeah.
Who do you think's down there?
Who's down there? Martin Luther.
The man who wrote the Protestant.
Martin Luther. Martin Luther's there.
Yeah.
He
He's
had
gone.
the special haircut.
He's gone. That fool's gone.
For denying the divinity of the Pope.
There's a whole lot. We could talk about this. There'll be a whole
Divinity of
rest
the
interview.
Pope. This guy knows nothing.
For
This
denying the
just an
divinity of the
idiot.
Pope. I think maybe he thought divinity of Christ, which would be yes, that would be a heretical sin, and you would burn
Which
in hell for
Luther
that,
didn't
very
do.
explicitly.
Yeah, Luther didn't do that.
Yeah, come on, man.
Divinity of the Pope. Good grief.
You never know. You could have another ex cathedra statement next week, bro. You never know.
Oh,
Never know.
this comment. Maybe he was talking about a different Martin Luther.
Well, actually, it is true that Martin Luther King Jr. did deny the divinity of Christ and was not a traditional Christian. So,
Gone.
For denying the divinity of the Pope.
There's a whole lot. We could talk about this. This would be the whole rest of the interview. I don't want to do that either. I'm not Mel Gibson. I'm not trying to be out here doing that either. God bless you. I love you too. I'm not that guy either. I'm not
Another
angry with
kind
my
of crazy
Christianity like
Catholic,
that. I
but
just
very
really
fun to
believe in what I
listen to.
believe in.
He's an interesting guy because he's set up a contest. So he is
Yes.
not a
Basically,
fan of
yeah,
the major
yeah.
popes. I mean, he was hanging out with a bunch of ortho bros in Israel not too long ago. So he's like nominally Catholic, right? I mean, he's very devout, but he's so devout that he's like, I don't agree with post-Vatican II. And he'll go into all the conspiracy theories about all that stuff. Like if you watch his Joe Rogan interview, he's like, no, anything past Vatican II is just nonsense.
Which he's had some drunken arrests as well with some interesting verbiage used.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, and he's also kind of crazy too. You know, he's like a little off. It's one of those things where there's certain people that are just in all of their mannerisms, they're just a little off.
The Mel Gibson interview was quite interesting to watch.
Have you ever seen the clip of, I think it's a Hispanic guy. He's on the side of the road. Mel Gibson pulls over to help him and changes his tire. And the
No.
guy does not believe it. So he's recording it. And it's Mel Gibson changing
Doesn't
his
surprise
tire.
me.
So I
seems like that kind of
gotta find that clip real fast.
I've never seen that
'cause
either.
Mel Gibson changes his tire, and he's being funny too. Change his tire.
He is hilarious.
Here we go. There we go. So this is just some random dude uploads this to TikTok, right? Mel Gibson, he doesn't believe it. He's like, what is going on here?
I am here helping my friend Mel Gibson, el del Patriota. Mel Gibson. Are you Mel Gibson?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yes. El del Patriota. You perform in the Patriota movie, The Patriot?
I did.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Long time ago.
Long time ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you alone?
Huh?
Why are you alone?
Why are you?
I am alone because I'm not famous.
I like being alone.
Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, my God, this is a lucky day for me.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What if I rob you?
Yeah, you are, Mel Gibson.
Okay, I just need to.
He's just sitting here helping a guy out, pumping his tire up. He's like, lucky
I gotta
day, huh?
say,
what if I rob you?
What a jackass. Mel Gibson is helping you on the side of the road and you're trying to get internet clout by filming it? No, just like talk to the guy like a human being. He's being a human being.
I mean, in his defense, he's Hispanic. He can't help it, okay? It's just how they act. Some people, when they're around famous people, man, can't handle it. Maybe he's
They get
just a
all
big fan,
starstruck.
you know?
Like, take a picture at the end, take a selfie, of course. Like, I think,
Yeah.
he's giving you that right to request that, but don't film the thing. Like, what a doofus. All right.
But
That's
yeah, it's
fun,
Mel Gibson, wholesome moment, changing a random guy's tire, helping a brother out.
I'm not trying to proselytize nobody. I'm not trying to hold no traditional Catholic line. I'm not some fucking weirdo like that, tight ass fucking. No, none of that, bro. I'm on my relationship.
Like you,
I'm in a
Christian.
full-blown
You
love affair with
weirdo.
Jesus, and I believe what I believe.
One thing you did mention earlier was the certain type of person that craves confrontation when they see you for whatever reason.
Sure.
Maybe they bring up controversy, they want to film you, they want to heckle you. Do you find that is oftentimes a trigger for you to be like, yo, get the fuck out of my face?
God's involved, bro. I'm learning my lessons. You know what I mean? I'm on my path. These people that was involved in this, there's growth that needs to happen, and through them, it will.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I look at life.
Now that I'm watching these two, I actually need a podcast between just Mel Gibson and Shia LaBeouf. Just
that
the
would be
two of them.
fantastic.
Just the two of them. Nobody else. No topics, nothing. Just
It would go so off the
cuff.
rails so fast. Oh, goodness gracious.
All
All right, so I think we got to jump to another part. What was the, let's see, let me pull up my list here.
The I've already earned the love part.
Yeah, go to
is
that one. That
coming
was
up.
pretty early on, right? Or was that later? Did we skip one? I think there was one towards the beginning that we skipped.
The jail part? We talked about the jail part.
Okay, let me look. You might be right.
Or
Yeah, so you're right. The next one is I've already earned the love. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, here we go. 58-49.
I was fucking chasing ass on Mardi Gras. What do you mean? I wasn't paying no attention to Epstein files. Nah, this shit is beyond me, bro. I don't get into this shit.
Yeah, I just wondered. It was like the biggest news story in the world for a couple of days was Epstein.
If you got no life, you mean you're just sitting in a fucking hole all day. You're not, chasing ass and getting at it. And motherfuckers that are in the street, they don't give a fuck about this stupid
personal.
shit. You know what I mean? So you're sitting home all day, just like, who got kidnapped? You know what I mean? Your life sucks. You know, you're a normie. Fuck
Hey, what up,
off.
Tom?
But if you're out here, nobody gives a fuck about none of this shit.
No, facts.
I remember asking Kendrick one time, like, bro, hey, Trump or Kamala, he was like, you think I give a fuck about this? Like,
Which is crazy considering his first blow up in 2016 was the infamous "He Will Not Divide Us," where he also assaulted a Trump supporter in the street in 2016, right? He had that 24-hour broadcast going, and then he put it up in the hills somewhere, right? And he just had it going with the flag, and then retard, autistic,
It's such a great story.
4chaners triangulated it with the planes flying in the background with the stars, and they tracked it down off of a skybox, right? Off of basically just a skybox. They triangulated where it was, found it, and took it down, right? Wacky story. That shy of 2016. Bro, now, fast forward 10 years. Bro, I don't care, dude. I was out there chasing ass on Mardi Gras, you know what I'm saying?
he got real life.
Yeah.
You know?
I just remember there was one day where it was like either Epstein does horrible shit or it's you having fun, and it was no.
Right, so if you got to pick, hey, man, come with me. I'm the good one.
Yeah, and you're not.
I'm the no weird files, bro.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I'm not no weird files. All my shit's in the street, bro. I'm open-hearted. I done fucked up, yes, but you know what I did. You know what I mean? And you know what I didn't do too. I swear.
Same energy as a homeless guy, right? Exact same energy as a homeless guy on a street corner, but add millions of dollars, right? The exact same energy.
There you do. Come on, how? Bro, how, bro? Think deductive, what is it called? Deductive logic, deductive rationale, deductive reasoning.
Hey, it sounds like our show.
Yeah.
So work your way back.
He's getting
in terms of
my whole life.
Yeah, plus 100 charisma, minus 100 vocabulary.
You'll know them by their fruits.
Do you like, I want to talk about some old shit.
Go ahead, bro.
I need to do drugs, man.
Come on, dog.
I guess, bro. Or that, or you're not doing enough alcohol. You have to take enough alcohol where you just enter into the flow state permanently, right? The perma-drunk.
I was just thinking today, I was like, that was shot.
So wait, pause it for a second. So, okay, we're already at the He Will Not Divide Us, which is good. I want to be there. But I think maybe we didn't go back far enough. Maybe I gave you the wrong timestamp. There was something, go back just for a second to 58:30.
Sure.
Then we can jump back.
Love.
From God.
Yeah.
Yeah, go back a little bit more. A couple more seconds.
Concerned that I want to, make sure they're cool too.
Well, I guess if you could talk to him directly, what do you want to tell him?
Listen up, dog. If you want to go watch the interview, bruh, go watch the interview. But because we're not stealing their content, because we're transformative on the internet, bruh, we're going to pause. We're going to jump around, right? We're going to talk. We're going to add in our own commentary. If you don't like it, don't watch it.
Yeah, quit backseat streaming. Also, the C in Christ is capitalized.
Get out of here. You're banned for heresy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
JPim, my gosh.
It is a YouTube comment section. We'll let you back.
Dog is fucking... I don't know what to tell you. I'm on it. I'm on a path, and I'm okay. You know what I mean? I'm okay.
I think that's important to know because
that's important to know.
You are doing okay.
I'm okay. I'm curious, and God's got me.
In Catholicism, it's more forgiving than Protestantism.
Bro, I've already earned the love
from God.
Yeah, I'm straight. You know what I mean? He already did the thing.
Very straight. Super straight.
Hey, people gotta get right. You know what I mean? You gotta own up. You gotta get right. People gotta get right.
Anyway,
that's interesting because that's the divide is almost backwards there. Yeah, you got it wrong. Got it the other way. You know. So I'm pretty I don't know. Is assault a mortal sin?
Assault a mortal sin? Yeah, I would say that separates you from the grace of Christ. Yeah.
I mean, whereas in Protestants, not all Protestants, but some Protestants, they would say that that's, you can do that while still maintaining salvation, right? So yeah, I think he got that a little backwards, but it seems like there are just a couple wires crossed inside of his brain, or they like melted and fused together at one point.
Yeah.
So
I just think it's funny when you hear two people who really don't know anything about theology talking about some of the details.
Well, it's funny because he says that while saying Martin Luther's in hell, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Although I really do think Shia is on the right path. Like, I certainly hope he is. He sounds extremely broken, obviously, but whenever he talks about God or Jesus, and we'll get there's a clip a little bit later, right after the "He Will Not Divide Us" section, where he's talking about what he would say if he was talking to Jesus, and you really do get the sense that this is a man who, at the very least, wants God to transform his life, and I think that is like the ultimate prerequisite for God transforming your life, and so I think God will complete the good work that he's started. I certainly pray for that. But it is, it's interesting hearing to someone who is clearly going through a lot right now. Probably shouldn't have signed up for this interview. Trying to opine on some of these things.
Yeah. Maybe he just knew somebody. How did he get with this random broadcast station in the area? Maybe just a friend of a friend was like, "Bro, you got to get on here and explain yourself."
What
to
an
make
opportunity.
yourself look better. Reform Renegade says Shia is just a tormented gay guy, right? He's an abuse victim from an early age, which most gay people end up being, just an abuse victim from an early age. So yes, he is very tormented by his past.
You better get right.
You want me to skip past to the "He Will Not Divide Us" section?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there we go.
Some old
Holes
shit.
is a good movie, by the way.
Yeah, He Will Not Divide Us.
That's fun.
Come on, dog.
And
I was
Transformers
just thinking today, I was like, that was Shia.
Yeah.
And you were kind of ahead of the curve on that.
Hey, bro, different time, different spirit, different everything, just everything. And I wasn't wrong. He didn't.
You don't think Trump divided us?
No. It depends on your sensibilities. I still stand by the statement I put on the wall. He will not divide us, and he did not.
Well, he did divide the public.
No.
What a transformation of that take. That's such a great statement. He will not divide us, and he did not, right? Because initially it was obviously put up as like a protest sign, like a protest art piece of he's trying to divide us, but we won't let him. And now he's like, and he didn't. I don't know. Maybe he's saying he didn't because him and the other leftists were so strong, but I don't know. It's such a funny juxtaposition.
I wonder if that's the gayest form of art, protest art.
Probably. Yeah.
Look, the beauty of that piece actually was its ability to be both things. And I don't want to fuck the art up, so I'm not going to speak on it no more. I don't want to choose a side. I'm a Catholic.
Christ first.
First. Only.
What would you say?
I don't want to choose a side. Christ only. That's pretty definitive there, sir. But he's very Artur. It's really about how you interpret my art.
Jesus, if you could meet him.
I wouldn't say shit.
Really?
Nah. But I'll kiss him. I kiss him. I kiss his feet. No one say nothing. Chill out with these questions, Andrew.
My bad. I didn't know it was gonna make you emotional.
I'm a real Catholic, bro. A real one.
I mean, in a lot of ways, that's kind of the proper
That's
response.
base.
Is like,
I think it's absolutely the proper response.
That's
I think
his
that
real
is like
emotional response to meeting his Lord and Savior, right? It's
Yeah.
something that he truly believes in his heart, and he's very emotional. He's like crying just at the thought of it, right?
100% based and coming from someone who is, a little homophobic, apparently.
Which is also base, right?
Which is also
So-
base.
Clean rap sheet for that one, actually. Gets a pass on that one.
I just thought
No,
you
I think it's great.
I'm a real one, bro.
I want to believe. It's something.
Well, hey, bro, you gotta hit your head into the wall hard enough where you just go, fuck it. That's the only way, dog.
Great
for me.
clip.
For the hard-headed ones, yeah, you gotta go hard.
What do you think was the real life equivalent of you smashing your head on the wall?
I put a gun in my mouth. I was ready to kill myself, blow my brains out, writing letters. Yeah, dark days. For real, gone, ready to go.
Why didn't you do it?
Why didn't I do it? Because I'm pussy and also my mom. So God bless her. kept me alive that night. And also some dude, I've said it already, but there was a dude who hit me up, this guy from the program. I used to save all the numbers in my phone, you know, Joey, AA, Bobby.
I mean, I know that story, like that, it's kind of like my dad's story, essentially, is you have this moment where it's like, I'm going to kill myself or do something, right? And they find God through it, right?
I think a lot of people have kind of been through a similar situation like that before they find God, like on the brink of suicide almost, but yeah.
So, I mean, it's funny that he says it in such a unhinged way, you know, just hit your head against a wall until you're like, F it, bro, right?
Yeah.
But then he goes into like the actual story here of it. And it's like, okay, well, that makes sense what he's trying to get at, but he does it in such a wacky manner with his drunken, you know, like this weird stupor way that he goes about things in this interview, but he's like actually correct about that.
Right. This is it's a little insulting. I do want to clarify. I think Shia LaBeouf is probably the most accurately described as homophobic. Like, none of us are homophobic. We might have issues with gay people, but we're not irrationally afraid of gay people, right? Shia is like, in a technical sense, he would be the most apt person being described by this term, right? Because he was abused as a child, just like someone who had a childhood encounter with spiders and now has arachnophobia. You know, he's got sort of this emotional, visceral response to seeing spiders. In this case, to being touched by gay people, which isn't even all that irrational. But you know, considering that it's based on sort of like childhood trauma, it probably is heightened beyond what it should be or what it normally would be. Specifically directed towards gay people. And so it's like, I'm not saying that in any way to cast aspersions. I just think that that's a technically correct application of the term in this case.
Tommy AA. And there was a cat who hit me up that night. I was ready to go, and he hit me up. He said, hey, what are you doing, or something like that. And then I was like, trying to explain myself, like, bro, fuck this, I'm out of here. Fuck life, I can't take it no more. I just lost my girlfriend. She's walking out the door. My wife didn't know. The ex is fucking sweet. It's all just shit. I can't wrap my head around it all. I'm out of here, bro. And he's like, oh yeah, cool. Tell me.
Most wholesome Hollywood marriage.
Tell me about it in the morning. And I thought, you motherfucking insensitive piece of shit. And he bought me the night. I was so angry I needed to talk to him in the morning. Sometimes that'll save you. Sometimes just being fucking like, sometimes madness, rage will save you from really scary stuff. I don't know. I'm not in charge. God's running the shit. I just try my best, and I'm not refined, and I'm one of them dirty Christians.
But it might benefit you to work out some kind of strategy for minutes.
But yeah, I mean, it's not that these sort of situations are good, obviously, but I mean, even in like the biblical story of David, right? It takes like a cheating break where he does the worst thing imaginable to bring him back, and he has this repentance phase, right? That brings him down to basically nothing.
Yeah.
And you still have to deal with the consequences of it,
That's
don't
how
get away
life
from the
works.
consequences of it.
Yep.
But it does bring you back.
All right. Well, we got to keep this train moving. I think that was the last clip, right?
Yeah, it's that is the last part. That's kind of the last two combined together.
Yeah. So go watch the whole interview. It's good. Those are the highlights, but the whole thing is the same energy. It's a little crazy.
It's an hour and 15 minutes of a wild ride. Let me put that link back in the chat for everybody. Is that it, James?
So we have two other topics. We don't have to get to all of them, but we can at least cover one. And I think the last one will be pretty quick too. Do you have the article for the Pope talking about how we should learn to live with Muslims, or something along those lines?
Yeah, let me pull that up. Pope Leo.
I had a couple comments on that specifically, so I thought it'd be.
Did you put the link to that somewhere?
I thought you shared it earlier.
Oh shoot. I think it was just a tweet basically. I don't think it was a real article. Let me scroll back far enough and see if I can find it. Or maybe if I
let's see.
Or did I put it in the Instagram chat? I think I put it in the Instagram chat.
That
Sorry,
might be
it'll take me just a second to find it.
Okay. Yeah, no worries.
I have too many messages in too many places to keep track of all of them.
in the meantime, did you guys see the? This wasn't even the show map, but did you see the Bill Clinton deposition at all?
No, sir.
So there's one particular clip. Let's see if I can find it here.
Well, if you give me the timestamp, I got it pulled up here.
Yeah, okay. If you have that clip, go ahead and pull that one up. And the timestamp is 1 hour, 17 minutes, and 40 seconds of the one I shared.
Oh.
So this is.
Oh no, I do know this.
Just
yes.
watch it. No introduction needed. It's so funny. He's looking at pictures of him and Jeffrey with girls. Oh man.
Game is game, all right. Man's pushing 90 years old, never stopped. Look at how excited that old man is.
He's like, no, don't take it away. I need a few more minutes for that. Oh man, good times.
Just going down memory lane.
Is taking a trip down memory lane, exactly.
He's like, no. Let me see that other page. I wasn't done yet. Listen, ma'am, I don't want to make a mess.
Afterwards? Yeah.
I need copies of all of these, okay? What a nice dress you have on. We'll be ashamed to make a mess on it. Actually, dude, I can't find that. Where did I put that? For the Pope status. Oh wait, no, there it is. No, I found it. I did find it. So let me see. Well, I'm trying to find the exact source. It's really just a tweet that links, but it's essentially Pope Leo's quote is Christians and Muslims can live together and be friends. That is the quote. Which,
doubt.
The problem is they're competing worldviews that are, and this is from his. Okay, so this actually dates back to his December press conference when he's specifically talking about Lebanon in I guess modern context where you have Christians and Muslims living together. I feel like that would be more of an anomaly. I did have another image pulled up somewhere, and it essentially shows the before and after of all of these countries and their Christian population versus their Muslim population. Right, and it's like pre-Islamification is like 20%, 15%, whatever it is. And then it's like post-Islamification, 0%, 0%, 1%, 0%, like just all the way down the list is because they are competing worldviews, and one does not allow for the other. So while
they
you
will
can
coexist until they can force you to convert or kill you. I mean, that's their official
right
stance.
until they reach a critical mass, and their purpose is explicitly to convert the nations by force, coercion, breeding, whatever it might be. So like right now in America, you can absolutely have Muslim friends that might even be nice people within your community, right? However, if you reach a critical mass, then they take over your community, and they force you to have halal everything, and they force out non-halal grocery stores and anybody that doesn't want to live exactly like them, right? And they'll just do that in communities, in cities, in states, and then in the nation if they get the opportunity to do so. That's just how it has always worked for 1,400 years. So, I mean, if I wanted to steelman his position a little bit and give him grace on that, he might be saying, like, in your day-to-day life, to be charitable and kind to Muslims in an attempt to be good examples to them, to perhaps evangelize them. But if you're going to say that we can coexist in some sort of long-term sense, or that we should even allow it, because even as Christians, we shouldn't really want that, right? Because more people joining Islam or Islam growing larger and more powerful is antithetical to Christians' long-term goals, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, it would seem like it, unless you believe that at some level, Christians and Muslims worship the same God. And I think that's kind of where it comes down to. I think that it's only with that perspective that you get statements like this, what I think are naive statements like this. And this is why I wanted to call out this particularly. It was more just a excuse for me to bring up something that I've been thinking about for a little while. We've talked before about
this particular issue of do Christians and Muslims worship the same God, and this was a hot topic amongst Catholics and Orthodox a few months ago, where it seemed like Catholics were generally coming down on the side of yes, and that seemed to be the official Catholic position. The rad trads would try to say no, but and certainly the head of Contis would say no, but it was and the Orthodox would definitely say no. I thought about this a lot, and I was trying, because I found the Catholic arguments in favor of it to be interesting, if not compelling. But what I noticed is that there was actually a lot of modern analytic philosophy being cited in favor of this perspective, that they do worship the same God. And what I realized is this actually intersected with this area of study of mine, which is linguistic philosophy or analytic philosophy. And so I thought I'd just kind of walk you through a couple things I've been thinking about. So there's this idea in philosophy where they're trying to get at how does meaning happen? Like, how can we communicate meaning to each other through the use of language? Because it's not actually, it is something of a mystery how we're able to communicate. Because when you actually try to define any particular word, you can't do so without the use of other words. And so what does a word mean if you can't ever perfectly define it, right? You try to define chair, you're going to use words that require, like wood or support, and that need further definition. And eventually you're going to need to define those words, and then you need to define the words that are used in that definition, and you're going to end up going in circles. You're never going to be able to fully define something. And so one of the kind of subtopics within this overall idea of how can we get to meaning is how can we refer to something properly? How can we refer to the person of Aristotle, for example? What does it mean to refer to the person of Aristotle? So, for instance, what if Aristotle never actually existed? What if the collection of writings we have are actually a collection of 5 different people who wrote under the pseudonym Aristotle, or who later were collected into this work that was labeled as Aristotle's work, but the man Aristotle never actually existed. When we use the term Aristotle, if we're actually referring to 5 different people, are we referring to anything at all, or are we referring to 5 different people? Or what if there was another person named Aristotle who didn't write any of his writings, but happened to be sort of the inspiration for those writings in sort of a tangential way? So he didn't actually write it, but he sort of inspired, and that's why they called themselves Aristotle. So are we referring to that person, or are we referring anyway? So you get into these, or there's another example, a famous one where Jack the Ripper was a serial killer in London, but they never actually caught him, and the term Jack the Ripper was actually just a term the police would use for whenever they found one of these bodies that had all these hallmarks of Jack the Ripper. They would say, well, Jack struck again. But no one knows if it was one person or a bunch of people. And so there's this question of how do we refer, and when we refer to something, what do we actually mean by referring to it, and how do proper names allow us to communicate meaning? Ultimately, I think this is actually a somewhat tired and rather pointless field of philosophy, because it all assumes a certain equality between language and logic. Like, it's trying to perfectly define and make notional these terms in language, and it actually it tries to do so, tries to kind of it tries to remove experience from language. So it tries to explain how language could work without experience, and that's a completely pointless endeavor, in my opinion, because you just can't explain language without appealing to our experience. And ultimately, analytic philosophy simply tries to reduce language to a series of logical statements, and it's a rather silly endeavor, in my opinion. But the arguments for why God, if you'll pardon the preface there, the arguments for why God could be the Muslim God and the Christian God could be the same God comes down to this theory of reference, where you can refer to something without actually knowing that thing, or knowing some of the key properties about that thing. And this is the prevailing modern theory, is that you can properly refer to something without actually knowing all the essential attributes about that thing. So let me give you an example. Let's say, there's this feudal lord, we'll call him Master Smith, who dies, and his son, also named Master Smith, inherits his kingdom. And the serfs on the kingdom, some of them realize that he's died, and the others don't. And so they're talking to each other, and some of them will say, hey, Master Smith wants me to do this. And others will say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I'll go and I'll help you. They're both saying Master Smith, but they're actually referring to different people, but they're both saying Master Smith in the correct syntax, and they both understand each other in a way that communicates. And so the question is, are they referring to the master, the current master, correctly, right? Who would be the son at this point? And I think your answer to that question would determine which side of the debate you fall on, whether or not you think that Muslims and Christians worship the same God or they don't. If you think that by both saying Master Smith and communicating properly about, ultimately the son in this case, they are both properly or truly referring to the son, even though some people don't realize they're referring to the son. They think they're referring to the father, but they're actually referring to the son in this case. If you think that they are referring correctly, properly, that they have actually truly referred, then you would fall into that camp of thinking that Muslims and Christians worship the same God. However, if you're like me and you think that no, just because the communication has taken place, there's actually been a misunderstanding, and they are not truly referring, because true reference requires a certain amount of intent and knowledge about the thing that you're referring to. And so if you refer to Master Smith meaning the father, but someone else misinterpreted it as meaning the son, and you happen to be communicating in a practical way because the son is the current master, that doesn't actually mean that you have done your part in properly referring. Anyways, and so I think if you take that perspective, then you would say that no, they're not referring to the same God, even though there may be a certain set of shared characteristics between Allah and the Christian God, in the sense that they both are creators of the world. They create ex nihilo, and they have certain sovereign and supreme characteristics. And there's plenty of things that you can point to that are shared characteristics, but they're not the same. And when one refers to the creator of all of this, they may sort of communicate a truth about the true creator, but if they mean Allah and someone else means the true Christian God, they're not talking about the same person. I don't know if that's helpful at all, but that's been on my mind, and I wanted to share that.
Okay, perfect. I'll throw in a couple things here. So I understand that people really want to be charitable and say that even if they get some of the specifics incorrect, they're at least attempting, but I don't think that attempting equals success. Like, if I'm attempting to call someone, but I keep entering the phone number wrong, even if it's just by one digit, I'm never getting to the truth thing, right? So, and when it comes to Muslims versus Christians, I would say that we're not even referring to the same thing, because the specifics about the one true God, and Allah just means God, is the generic term for God. The specifics themselves are contradictory, right?
But
so
that actually will get you into trouble, though, because...
Well, no, but your
okay,
specific example of the son versus the father, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have the same generic name. However, if I say, oh yeah, the Smith, the one who's 64 years old, that's the father. The son is, 32 or whatever he is. You instantly know that I'm referring to a different person, even if they share the same name, right? So even if there's this generic term of God, which can be applied to a lot of things, right? There's lots of little g gods. You can use it as a euphemism. You can use it in a lot of different ways, right? So there's the word concept fallacy of God does not mean the same thing. When the Christians say God, we are referring to the Trinity, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, right? If you're missing any of those attributes, you are no longer referring to the same thing. So the God Allah has specific contradictory things that are excluded from the one true God. It's not possible for them to be the same thing, even if there's similarities in the generic term of God, right? So like Arianism, for instance, that's a heresy from the First Council of Nicaea, right? We did away with that 1700 years ago. The Muslim God is far different than even the worst Arian heretic could possibly formulate, right? Gnostics don't worship the same God, even if they attribute some divinity to Christ, right? Their formulation of what God is completely different. It is not the same thing, right?
But how different is too different?
Well,
And who
the Orthodox
decides?
would say one heresy separates you from access to the one true God if you are missing one of his characteristics, and the church decides.
So anyone, you're saying any heresy.
Right. Well, if you're missing one key attribute of the thing, it is no longer the thing.
So what is the
Right?
minimal
So if I
thing?
said-
What is the minimum definition that you have to accept?
Well, it would, in Orthodoxy, it would be, you can't obviously deny the divinity of Christ. It would be probably their formulation of the Trinity, which is called monarchical Trinitarianism, right? So no filioque, because the filioque would also be a heresy, right, in their formulation of the Trinity. So if you get any one of these foundational characteristics incorrect, you lose access. You're no longer talking about the one true God, and that would make you a heretic. Now, you can be wrong about specifics and tertiary issues about interpretations of what this means for our daily lives and things like that, but you can't actually get anything specific and integral of God incorrect. Otherwise, you're missing the mark, right?
So, and this is why I'm asking, because in the Christian, the Catholic perspective would be different, obviously, in terms of what you have to accept about God. The Protestant definition would generally fall or closer to the Catholic definition, but it's still, there's going to be minor differences. And so my point is, if you require perfect adherence to every detail in terms of knowledge of God, actually no one is going to get there, because no one has perfect knowledge of this thing that we're trying to refer to. And so there has to be some minimum amount of details that are required, and then other things that we can be wrong about, and we're still referring to the correct God, right? So we can't require perfect precision and correctness and accuracy when it comes to referring to God. So there has to be some minimum amount, which even Christians can't agree on. Different Christian sects, and so it is more complicated than just simply saying, okay, well, this is the definition. Everyone move forward from here. Because I mean, I could say the Nicene Creed. But then Orthodox will say, well, that's not enough, or your interpretation of the Nicene Creed isn't
well
accurate
but see
enough.
there could be different levels to it, and I don't think one has to excludes the others, right? Within Catholicism itself, Islam should be contradictory, right? Within their own framework, right? Because they deny the divinity of Christ, right? So I don't even need to talk about the Orthodox or the Protestant version, but they denied the divinity of Christ. If you don't know me, you don't know my Father. It seems cut and dry in that. If you deny me, I'll deny you before my Father. Like anything there. So like Muslims, even if you know a couple that are nice, right? Not really relevant. They are outside of the faith. They do not worship the one true God. They do not know the one true God. They're denying him and denying Christ, right?
I think that this goes back to a point I've made in a previous intro, talking about the distinction between the real and the notional. I think that the distinction is actually one of a personal relationship with this God. So even if you're wrong on some of the details about the God, it is ultimately the real personal relationship that you are experiencing and that you are pursuing and engaging in that will result in whether or not you're referring to the true God or not. And so in theory, there could be some Muslims who, in spite of their bad theology and bad teaching, may actually be following the one true God. C.S. Lewis kind of posited this idea. Now, people don't buy into that always,
right? Because if they accepted the divinity,
they may
of
call
Christ,
themselves Muslims.
Well, right,
you're
but it
right.
doesn't
They
matter
would not
what you call
ultimately
yourself.
be.
They would be outside of Islam at that point.
Exactly.
So yes, I agree with you. Muslims outside of Islam, maybe
Right.
Christian, is possible.
Right. Despite their own self-perspective. Now, not everyone goes with C.S. Lewis on this. I think that he actually is making a good point, but you certainly don't have to and many Christians don't. It certainly is not a universalist perspective, but it does tend to be more inclusive than many Christians are comfortable with. But you basically, I think that beyond, I don't think that whether or not we're referring to God comes down to, do we have the perfect, correct definition of God? That may be a component to it, because if you know the true God, then surely you do have some sense for who for what would describe that God. and that would start to amount to a definition, even if it's not perfectly complete. But ultimately, the important thing is going to be a real experiential relationship with that being, that real being, not simply a heady idea of who that God is.
No, I agree with that. It's not just like a knowledge base, right? It's not just like an incantation that you say out loud and it gets you in, right? It doesn't just. I mean, that's not how it works, right? It's just knowledge in and of itself.
Right.
But by the same thing, if you deny one level, it's like, I don't know how modern Catholics try to reinterpret it, because again, there are all of the ecumenical councils in many ways anathematize and excommunicate various groups for various incorrect beliefs from Christianity explicitly, and I don't know how Muslims don't.
Yeah, I don't either.
Through every single council that are, that are infallible according to the Catholic Church, I don't know how they can say anything against them, right? And this is the weird area where Catholics do have more leeway, because the Pope is above councils, right? An ecumenical council is only ecumenical if the Pope signs off on it from the Catholic worldview. Whereas the Orthodox say we don't, it's just the councils. That's it. It's the highest level we can get on earth, council.
Yep.
So
this is the
from
wrong
a Catholic's
response. God is
perspective, you
not
have
just
to-
in yourself. God is actually outside. I mean, hopefully God is also inside, but don't just think that God is like some union, embedded consciousness. That
We're all
has
sons
been
of
passed
stars
down.
or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The
It's a fun
the
discussion. I don't know, Christian. Do you have any specific thoughts on that? Because I know we always talk past you, like while you're here next to us, and we're arguing about, well, how can Catholics believe this because it says this? It's like the First Ecumenical Council, like kicks out Arius and all of his followers, right?
Oh, you're good, man. Yeah, I didn't realize it was a pick on Christian tonight. So, but yeah, all good.
Well, I mean, like that's the thing, though. It's like every Catholic. It's like,
Oh, no.
I feel bad because if I talk to like Shia, right, I'm like, all right, so what do you think about the Pope's statement on this? He's like, oh, man, I don't know, dude.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I disagree with within the modern church, and I mean, obviously this stems from Nostra Aetate for the most part. I don't agree. I mean, with him saying it is kind of an interesting point though that he brings up, that Christians have coexisted and Muslims in Lebanon, because I kind of looked it up and it's like a 60-40, 70-30 split between Muslims and Christians, and I haven't really done a lot of research into what goes on in Lebanon, but I suppose that they have coexisted in some way, shape, or form. I mean, are they in direct conflict with each other? Do they attack each other? I guess not. But in a general sense, I would disagree, because I mean, even like Pope Leo XIII said the acceptance of all religions is no greater than atheism. It's like it's on par with atheism, essentially. So it's just interesting to see how the modern church has kind of almost 180'd on some things compared to the old church.
Well, even in like the turn of the millennium, right? It was anybody who prayed in a mosque or a synagogue got anathematized, right? And I do agree. Like, if I'm going to steelman the Pope's position, is that absolutely there are instances in time and space where Muslims and Christians work together and fight on the same sides in certain wars and battles and live together peacefully. But those are usually like rather small chunks in space and time, and then it leads to some right, because I always try and think about like the end goal, like where the directions of these different ideologies are going, and it's like at some point, me and the libertarian are going to have a conflict. At some point, me and the socialist, even if we agree on a couple things in the here and now, we're going to have a problem. At some point, right? And it's the same thing, Christians and Muslims, like even if we're working together for a common goal for now, at some point there is a fork in the road. There has to be at some point, right?
Yeah, I think using the like the minority example of Lebanon to kind of prove a point doesn't disparage the point of like general idea that Christians and Muslims are not going to co-align, like on a world stage wise. It's just doesn't make sense. It's almost the same logic as saying like abortion should be justified because of rape, when that It's
like
less than
0.1%. It's like nothing.
Yeah, it's almost the same logic in my eyes. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you don't use an exception to justify the rule, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
or to invalidate the rule. Sorry.
To your point about kind of the modern church seeming to pivot on this in a way that's odd and somewhat dumbfounding, I do think that a lot of it comes down to this buying into modern philosophical thought, specifically analytic philosophical thought. So I'm going to post a link in the chat. I think that's the right one for my compulsive gun buyer. The link is the comment is from my compulsive gun buyer.
You might need to put it in the private chat because I don't know if that's going to, because sometimes it blocks links. But if you post it from your own channel, because I'm in our channels.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that might be true.
YouTube Live, so I can post it in there, and my links will go through because I'm on the Redoubt account.
Fair enough. Let me find it real quick. But basically, it's a series, like an 8-part series from a philosopher or from a philosophy teacher in I think he's in Charlotte or Greensboro, North Carolina. But his series on analytic philosophy are really good in terms of just kind of understanding the basics of what the questions, why this even matters, and why people are talking about this. And like I said, in the end, my conclusion is that it doesn't matter nearly as much as modern philosophers think that it does. But if you want to understand the conversation and perhaps some of the things that are impacting the Catholic Church in many ways, because for me this was a big kind of key to unlocking what was going on, then it could be helpful to the 2 or 3 of you that might be interested. I'll go ahead and try to find that clip. I did, since we're actually doing pretty well on time. There was the one last thing was that article I sent about the loud kids in church. Do you have that, John?
I do. Right before we get to it, let me grab some of these real fast, though. Cody Fisher for 2 says, "You are the rage bait, James." I thought that come through. That is
happy
good.
to be.
Be nice to James.
Mitchell Black for 2 says, "I like Shia, but everything he does is a performance."
He's an actor.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that element to it as well. But I mean, if you just watch him, like the candid footage as well, he seems like he's out there, bro. Thank you, Mitchell. Cody Fisher says, "Prime example why you don't drink, James. How helpful can you be while drinking? And are you more likely to avoid situations like this if you just don't drink?" That's right. Drinking is gay or something.
That's right. Well, Jesus did turn the water into wine, and his wine was the strongest and the best wine. So,
roasted sober
it's okay.
people.
Yeah, sober cells seething right now. Thank you, Cody. Mitchell for 2 says, real ones remembered, he will not divide us. Yes, that was a great moment in internet history.
So good.
Let's see. Dude, I starred this because I thought that was funny. White Obama, your argument is invalid. I thought that was funny. White Obama. Well, listen. All right. Zanico for 2 says, "James, how would you feel if you didn't eat breakfast?"
Probably okay as long as I had my morning latte. I've got a great espresso machine with a nice frother, and as long as I get a little bit of milk, that gives me the calories I need to get through the day.
A little squirt of milk in the morning. Thank you, Zany. Cody says, "The true God is embodied in us all. Secret." Oh, wait, no. He had a follow-up to that. Let me see if I can grab that real fast. He is our creator, our DNA, makeup, etc. For the reference, we all embody him. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how I would phrase that, but yeah. All right, and I have James' link, which I'm going to put in the chat now for all of you to enjoy. All right, so I have not read this article. James, you want to walk us through it, or do you want me to read it out?
Yeah, so we don't need to read the whole article. Just scroll down. I mean, basically, a church put out a statement, and this is the statement. That's the only reason I linked to this particular article, because it had the statement in full. So scroll down.
It's on welcoming loud kids and their families into church. Will a viral tweet from a small congregation in Pennsylvania be a catalyst for change in the church's approach with families of kids with big emotions and behaviors? ? So and this is all right. Well, effective immediately at Mount Washington Church, we are committed to transparency and accountability in all matters of church life. The following document outlines our comprehensive procedures regarding loud children in worship, Please consider this your official notice of policy clarification. Effective immediately if a family is considering visiting Mount Washington Church and they have a loud kid, the following options are available. Option 1, the family should bring the kid. Option 2, the family should make sure they bring the kid. Option 3, the family is to see that the child was brought to church. And option 4, the kid is absolutely welcome and expected. We believe the sound of children in worship is not a distraction. It is evidence of life, growth, and the future of the church. If your child makes noise, you are not bothering us. You are a blessing. Policy enacted, no exceptions. Oh, well, that's wholesome. I thought, just because I hadn't read this, I thought this was going to be like some mega cringe corporate. We'd really prefer if you refrained from making noise in service, and if it's just too loud, there's options outside of the church for you and your children to partake, maybe even online. I thought it was going to be something like that,
Right,
but at least that's wholesome.
So yeah, I think it's great. I'm fully supportive of this. I do think that I wish that there had been a little bit of clarification, because I do think that there's an age cutoff here, because loud babies are absolutely acceptable and a joy.
About 25.
And yes, it's okay if you want to have like a cry room or something. If people feel compelled to step out, as long as they can still be a part of the service, that's fine. Or just keep them in the service. I'm totally cool with that. Don't mind crying babies in church. I think that's kind of a wholesome thing. However, yeah, beyond a certain age, you should bring your kids to church, but you should ensure that they are not making noise, because there's a certain amount of just discipline and decorum that is expected, and as a parent, you should enforce that amongst your kids. So I do think that a little bit of clarification would be helpful here, because beyond a certain point, if your 8-year-old is making noise in church, or even your 6-year-old, you should train them how to behave. But other than that, I think it is totally wholesome.
Easier said than done, but yes, I totally agree. As with our 5 and 3 and 1-year-old in church service, it is very fun at times to manage emotions that may or may not be running high. But
Right.
yes, no, totally agree. It is your job to teach and train them, and sometimes that's a learning experience for all parties involved. But that is part of being part of a church, right? That's part of being part of a congregation, is learning how to act with one another, teaching proper behaviors in church, respect for the establishment, all of that.
Yeah.
I fortunately, I don't know how you guys feel, but I've never been to a church that like gave us a dirty look or had a problem with the kids in any way, shape, or form. I know some people have had bad experiences, but I've been very lucky throughout my life, even as a kid myself, like not being too frowned upon when I was not acting properly.
Yeah.
My parents definitely took it out on me, but the church didn't.
No, in Protestant circles, it is a interesting dynamic. There are certainly some churches that will very actively try to sort of segregate the kids from the main service, and I was never really privy to these congregations. It's not really a thing in Presbyterianism. Well, in the more Reformed Presbyterian circles or the more conservative ones, generally speaking, I'm sure that it exists, but basically our churches were always, we would have Sunday schools, but they would be Sunday schools either before or after the service. There was never this like separate kids church. Maybe they would have a children's church for the very young, and it'd be sort of like during the sermon they would go off and have sort of like a sermon that was a little bit more tailored to their age. I think that's okay. I would kind of prefer that they just stay in the main service, but that's different than some churches. Some Protestant churches specifically will have like a different church, like the youth pastor will teach a whole separate sermon to the teens, to the youth in the church. They won't be a part of the main service, and I think that's rather ridiculous. So I didn't even realize that there was this movement within Protestantism. I think it's mostly a Baptist movement, but it is somewhat non-denominational, but called the Family Integrated Church movement or something like that. And it was only when I was dating that someone mentioned to me, like, I would want to make sure that we were going to a family integrated church, and I was like, isn't that just church? Like, what does that mean? But the reason I bring it up is because I believe the Botkin family is or was very active in that like community where it's sort of a specific group of churches or with a creed of like making sure that all the kids stay in the service and that everyone it's anti-programmatic. There are no separate programs divided by age in the church. Everything is done together, even in terms of like Sunday school and stuff. You wouldn't have, even after the service, you wouldn't have a kid's Sunday school. You would have maybe a group Sunday school. You might have a Sunday school, but the father is supposed to be the spiritual teacher for the whole family. And so any questions should really be directed or funneled through the father. And anyways, it's a niche movement within the church, and I think it takes it too far in many ways, really forcing integration where it's not always required. But it's very much a backlash to these overzealous programmatic churches that are segregating based on age for really no reason and greatly to their detriment. So anyways, just worth calling out because it's kind of a little niche topic within Protestantism, but I thought it was kind of amusing.
Yeah.
So there we go. I think that's the show, folks. This is a lot of fun.
Heck yeah. Awesome.
Good 2.5 hours. We got through all of our topics, which is surprising. Yeah, this is
also
good.
Thanks, kind gentlemen, for the support. Greatly appreciated over here on the Redoubt channel. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the like button on the way out if you don't mind.
That's right. We are pretty close to hitting that 1,000 subscriber mark, which will lead to monetization on these streams, which would be pretty fun. So yeah, we really do appreciate your support. This is a good time. This is a fun Tuesday night for us, so we hope that you enjoy it as well. I don't know what it shows on YouTube specifically, but we've had a solid about 130 to 140 people here the entire time, so it's been a lot of fun. Good
It
hanging out
peaked
with
at
you guys.
over 100 on YouTube, so
Yeah, fantastic.
good show. Fantastic
Yeah,
show.
great stream.
Yep.
All right, good deal. Well, we will be here next Tuesday. Thank you all for being here. God bless. Christian, John, thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.